COVID.
What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here. Joined right off the get, we have the special guest right from the start. We have Spidey Jew 09, aka Justin, in the house.
What's up,
hanging
everybody?
out tonight. Real quick, right at the top, where can people find your work before we get lost in the shenanigans of chat?
Yeah, I live primarily in two places, and that's on Instagram, Spidey Jew 09, and on YouTube, Spidey Jew 09. And they can find content there, mainly Marvel card related, specifically, and Instagram Marvel card related. So anything Marvel cards, just feel free to check it out and hit me up.
Yep. Spidey is one of the, I guess, experts in the Marvel card industry. So if we have Marvel card questions in the chat, we will definitely address those. Nothing super crazy off the top of my head that I want to immediately get off my chest or anything. So as typical, we will kind of let chat drive the ship here. I guess the one thing I'll open with, which this is kind of a little unrelated to you, Spidey, but the Star Stock stuff, Dakota did a great job on that interview the other day and kind of knocked that out of the park with the Star Stock news. I feel really good about my decision to pull all my cards off that platform a while ago. I did a video about pulling everything off in October, I think it was. You could kind of tell by Scott's interview with Dakota that their focus is not going to be on sports cards going forward, and that they're going to try to spin that down. That's the vibe I got. So I requested my last two slabs off there on Saturday or Friday night, and I requested a cash out via check. And I put the request in on Saturday. The check shipped today. I got notification that the payout is on its way to me. So things seem to be functioning as normal. I don't think anyone's going to lose cards or anything, but I do think this is an interesting, which I'll probably do a separate video about this, an interesting test case for, is this the first domino to fall in a multitude of companies that popped up during the boom of the card market only to get undercut once the bottom fell out on a good chunk of the card market. So it's my little opening diatribe there. Then we'll see what chat has going on for us. And for you, if you're not familiar, Spidey, Star Stock is basically a modern version of Comc, I would say.
Yeah.
Without an e-pack attachment to it or anything, but you would send cards into them. They would review them as A, B, or C based off a real rough grading, kind of like a Beckett Rock card review. And then it was an all digital marketplace, but you didn't actually see the individual card you were buying like Comc. It would just be like, I want a Zion Prism A. And there was a generic picture of a Zion Prism, and you just knew you were buying an A. And then they started implementing like grading components to it to ship off. During the boom of the sports card market, it was an extremely fun website and a very profitable website if you were quick on stuff.
Well, I'm not familiar with Star Stock. I'm obviously familiar with Comc and some others, but just in the background of things, nothing public, there's a lot of strong relationships that are being formed. And if Star Stock's not a part of this new, I call it, symbiotic ecosystem that's being created, then they're out of luck.
Yeah, they seem to be definitely switching gears to moving out of cards, which I get. Like, a lot of the stuff that was transacting on their platform was very low end, like very, very low end, like sub-dollar cards. Wow. So you have to imagine, your commission on that's very small, and the amount of overhead that they had for, ingestion staff. Says people, like, I sent them like a box of 5,000 cards. So someone has to sit there and ingest all that and grade them all. And you're talking about 5, 10, 25-cent cards in a lot of cases. So the team of people that they have to support that, and then once the bottom kind of fell out, the money just wasn't there for them to support that staff anymore. So their new shift is primarily graded cards and wax, because graded cards are obviously easier to inventory. Someone doesn't have to review them ahead of time first. The PSA 9 is a PSA 9, and it's probably easier to store in a vault as well. But it sounds like they're going to even kind of wind down some of that as well. I'm just going to say hi to some people in chat real quick.
Chat's going
Up 357. Kane got a CGC 9.2 and a 9.6 on Spider-Man 300s. Nice.
Those are nice.
That book. That's one on my list.
How do you not have that book?
It's just one of those ones I never got to. I prioritized other stuff ahead of it. And then by the time I got around to it was when its price was ridiculous. So when and
it's down right now. I mean, a 9.6 newsstand was like, I saw a pretty good price on one the other day. I can't remember.
Yeah, exactly 9.8s are going for sub 5K now, or right at 5 to 5.5, I think. I would probably look at a 9.6 in that book. I don't know that I'm going to spend $6K on something, I don't know that I want it to be a modern-ish book.
Yeah,
I
there's
would
a, I
rather
mean,
buy another Hulk 181 for
right.
6K or something like that.
And the talk is that is the future Hulk 181, in a sense, right? For modern books. I think it's special. Um, I actually like 299 as well. I think 299 is a fun book to hold, is because it's got that great cameo first appearance, panel in it. In fact, that's the copy that I have signed by Todd McFarlane.
Nice. I'm not big on signature series books. I prefer them virgin,
You
unmolested. But
you and I are the same. 100%. So I don't even have that book on my wall. The best book that I have a signature on is a 9.8 newsstand Spawn #1, and have a beautiful full Todd signature. And I think because that book was so massively printed, and I have a 9.8 newsstand with signature, which really kind of narrows the pop
narrows it
report,
down.
I think that one's special.
Yeah, McFarlane has a really nice signature too. And that being said, I wouldn't mind. I've talked about this before.
Mhm.
I would love to get at some point in time, and I could get one whenever. It's just a matter of just pulling the trigger on one, like a nice X-Men 11 with a Jim Lee signature on it
Yeah.
or something, just to have. But
What
I
I'm not a
generally
huge
prefer
fan
my
of
books unsigned.
is when people get like the actor to sign the comic book. I'm like, don't ruin a great
I
comic
wouldn't
book.
do that. I could see the appeal for that for like my wife. She really loves the MCU.
Mhm.
She doesn't give a crap about comic books. But would she like a Scarlet Witch cool cover with an Elizabeth Olsen signature on it? Maybe.
But
You know what I mean?
how many Scarlet Witches actresses are we going to see over our lifetime potentially? Like, how many Wonder Woman actresses have there been?
Yeah, but it's always going to come back to whatever one you have the personal connection with. Like,
Yeah.
who's your Batman essentially?
True. No, very true.
Thanks, Toy Store Collectibles. It was fun to just actually do like a regular sports card video and not deal with shenanigans and nonsense. But that's been 2022 so far for us in the hobby world, pretty much regardless of which side of the fence you're on. Yeah, I got the same vibe, David, that, Scott and Star Stock seem like they're done with sports cards. It's just a matter of how they are going to wind it down. Charles, Marvel doesn't have drama. How big of a dip do we see on Mahomes cards? I don't know, Jonas. That'll be an interesting thing to see. The problem is I don't know that the supply is going to be there to make it dip, because a lot of people will just think that they'll hold. They have to be motivated to sell. So if it's a restricted inventory on the market, you might not see that much of a dip as you would expect, but it'll be curious to watch over the next month or so.
So, Neil, I have a question for you. So,
Sure.
Mahomes is a big time character, would seem to be someone you might want a PC as a collector, but yet in the sports card world, it's like it's okay to flip like at a rapid pace. But in the Marvel card world, it's kind of frowned upon. Like, why are you buying that to resell? Have you experienced that? Do you get the same kind of vibes?
100%. Yeah, the sports card world is very much. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is definitely a core selection of collectors in the sports card world. That's what it's originally built on. But the new age, us modern evil people, as I like to refer to myself, the evil sports cards investors / flippers, definitely try to remove personal attachment from it as much as possible. That being said, we fall into the same traps that anybody else does when you buy something and suddenly have it sitting on your desk that you weren't necessarily attached to. You quickly become attached to it, whether you intended to or not, just because it looks shiny or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it's very much about, the comment that they use is like, use the hobby to fund the hobby. Like, we are very much about like, okay, I'll buy it at 5, sell it at 6, and then use that 6 to buy the next thing, and eventually build the bankroll to buy what I really want, whether that's a sports card or, for me, a comic book or a Marvel card or whatever.
Right.
So it's basically a means to an end for a lot of people, to buy their long-term holds. They use the flips to build the bankroll. And you're right. On the sports card side, it is nothing. I have seen the same card change hands 4 times in a single afternoon. Sometimes.
It's the way of life, and to some degree, or to collect, invest, whatever you want to call it. But like, I just watched a video, it was a wonderful video, and it was like, all these quote sports card people are going to come in, and as soon as there's a dip, they're all going to just drop it, and somebody's going to be left holding the bag, kind of a comment. And then, someone's going to get hurt. And I'm like, well, I hear what you're saying. There's a whole lot around it. Can't unpack it right here. But what I've experienced is when people who were collecting something else then starts collecting Marvel cards, there seems to be a different response and reaction. And you just described it, which is we get them in hand and it's like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. I enjoy this a lot more than I thought I would. And I don't really want to sell it.
For sure. And I've done that, like I said, with comic books, I've done that a lot with, but I go in buying comic books knowing I'm not planning to flip those. I use the sports card flipping to fund some sports card purchases, like some LeBron stuff and whatnot. And when I buy a comic book, I know that I'm buying the comic book 9 times out of 10, not to actually flip it. So I know that when I put my money there, it's going to sit there. Whether that happens with Marvel cards or not, I don't know. Or whether you see people buy in the Marvel cards and then sell off a chunk of them, like lower end stuff or whatever, and then keep a few select key things that they've grown attached to. And then you use the other stuff to either buy bigger Marvel cards or to dive back in the sports cards or in the comic books or whatever. That's the part I don't think we know yet. You know what I mean? We don't know how many people will stay fully invested and how many people will use it as a tool to either move on to a couple few select big Marvel cards or back into whatever it is that they came from.
No, I agree.
The interesting angle too is like set building. Like set building is not a thing in sports cards at all, and on the Marvel side, it's huge. Marvel cards to me are much more comparable to comic books. Comic books are the same way. If you're flipping comic books, there's a large section of the community that kind of looks down on you as like, oh my God, you sold a comic book, you're evil.
Right. I sold that to you because you were a collector, and now you're selling it, kind of thing.
Yeah. If you had a Burrow optic base that is a 10, would you send it express? Thanks. Love the show. You're playing with fire there. I would probably just either sell it raw or just grade it at the normal price that it would be to grade it and just sell it later in the off season. I don't know that I would pay $150 to try to get it back before or right around the Super Bowl. That could go sideways on you in a hurry. So if you just want to lock in profits now, just sell it raw, let someone else make the money off it on the grading, or send it in for grading at a $50 economy submission level. Get it back and sell it in August or something when training camp opens up. I think going express for that card's getting a little too cute. And you never know. Just because you think it's a 10 doesn't mean you might have missed something. It could catch a 9. Grading is a fickle beast sometimes.
Well, it's not going to come back before the Super Bowl results. So
it could if you pay the iron price.
Oh, the iron price. Okay.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks?
If you pay up, they churn and burn stuff fast.
Wow.
It very well could.
Gotcha.
But you're talking about $150 to $300 a card.
Got it.
To grade at that level. Short-term Brady cards up. They will go up short-term. Whether or not it sustains, I don't know. Brady's kind of a unicorn in a lot of different ways, and same with his cards, in my opinion. So I don't know that it follows the normal mold of, the news bump and then does it go back down again. I think most people buying Brady are holding for a while. So once again, it could be a restricted inventory, but it's definitely going to see a spike up, I think, initially.
Do you think he'll reach kind of that MJ-esque level where even if you were not a fan of Brady, you want him in your PC?
I think he's already there.
He's already there?
On the football side, he's that guy already, in my opinion.
Got you.
Seemed like Starstock I was dodging the PSA questions about if they paid for subs or not. That part seemed a little sketchy. I'm not going to lie. I don't know how you don't know that information on whether the PSA subs have been paid for. I mean, obviously they're not paid for because we all know how PSA works, that it's on the back end. His not knowing of that or not acting like he knew of that seemed a little weird. And if PSA is forcing everyone to pay up now, and I don't think I don't think he's lying when he says that they have plenty of money. I do believe that to a certain degree. So I don't think there's going to be any problems getting the PSA sub back. I don't think this is a Mark's card situation waiting to happen. But HC Sports says he did himself no favors on Dakota's interview. I mean, I'll give the guy some credit for him to go on to Dakota's channel and answer. And Dakota did not softball questions. He hit him with some hard stuff. I'll give Scott credit for going out there in front of a live studio audience and, opening himself up for those questions and answering them. He didn't seem to dodge most of them. He answered about as directly as he probably could on most of them. So I will give him credits for that. But I do also agree. I don't think that interview did anything to ease anyone's concerns with Starstock as a platform long-term. I don't think anyone's worried about, I'm personally not worried about necessarily cards going away. If I had high-end stuff there, I'd be trying to get it home. But from that perspective, I feel okay-ish, at least in the short term. My biggest takeaway is that I feel like they just don't want to deal with sports cards anymore. $50 is economy service. $100 is regular. 357. Sorry, I'm drastically behind on chat already. Not surprised. Saw National Brady's Tom. Hey, Michael Ham, what's going on, buddy? Mahomes should not dip more than 5%. Should and would will be two different things, Michael Ham, but I don't necessarily agree with you. Though, well, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you, not Michael Ham. I don't want to spoil a potential video coming up.
Well, my thought was, I thought Mahomes had already dipped.
He did, but pretty much everybody dipped since the beginning of the NFL season. So that's not like, if you say Mahomes dipped, it's not necessarily like a slight against Mahomes. It's a slight against the entire card market has dipped since over the last 6 months. So
Right. Got you. So he just followed that same kind of arc.
Correct. He's not bucked the trend, I guess.
It's so funny. Like, 2 weeks ago, greatest playoff game ever. He was perfect in the last 2 minutes. He's amazing. And then now his card dips.
Yeah. So I'll speak about it generally here. My biggest concern with Mahomes is there's a lot baked into his price already. And once again, this will probably be a spoiler for a video sometime in the future. There's so much baked into his price already. His PSA 10 Silver Prism is about $7,000 to $8,000, and he's won 1 Super Bowl. And when you start looking at the AFC specifically, it's kind of loaded. Like,
God,
I don't know that he's going to pull a Brady and roll off 6 or 7 of these things. There's a lot of competition. Mahomes could be really good and have a really good career and maybe win 1 more Super Bowl if the AFC talent pool stays where it is. Josh Allen's not going anywhere anytime soon. Burrow's not going anywhere anytime soon. Herbert is not going anywhere anytime soon. And, that's just 4 guys right there, including Mahomes. So it's not like he's just got a golden ticket to the Super Bowl every single year. And that team's getting older around him. Kelsey's not getting any younger.
Andy Reid's not getting younger either.
Correct. Yeah, that too. Though I don't know if that would be, a huge loss. He's good, but why would you want PSA to grade both card and a SIG? I see graded auto cards with no grade and a SIG. I wonder why. A lot of people just do it to save money. A lot of people will also send stuff to PSA and just get the PSA 10 and not grade the auto because they don't think the auto will grade a 10. And if you ever look at BGS 9510 autos, if a BGS auto has a 9 on it, it's a death sentence in most cases. It'll drastically affect the value of that card. So anything that's borderline, a lot of people will send the PSA and just not have the auto graded. I have 1 auto card by PSA and both are graded. It's a Soto, but the auto was really clean on it. So that's probably why they included it. It's not that much more expensive to grade an auto with PSA, but a lot of people do that to dodge the auto grade.
I have 2 autos at PSA right now. One of them is the Jim Lee auto from the 92 Uncanny X-Men. And then the other is Paul Bettany in, I can't remember what it was numbered out. I think it's numbered out 15. But anyhow, I went ahead and got the auto graded on it as well.
Talking about our flipping conversation from earlier, they get mad if you're a flipper. Then as soon as you offer them a good card at a good price, they all buy, and then they go try to probably sell it for a profit.
Hypocrisy.
I think this came up in the group chat today. What is the first Miles Morales card or first couple Miles Morales cards?
Well, you have a beginnings card, but actually shortly after this question, Charles answered it beautifully in the chat. You see it there. 2020 Greatest Heroes insert.
I just assume Charles probably has 570 of those out of the 500.
He knows the print run, but I would like to elaborate on this a little bit. So I think the first numbered card, because there are differences, right, in ways in which people might look at this, but the first numbered card for Miles, I believe, is in Vibranium. And then you have the 2016 Joe Jusko Marvel Masterpiece Miles, which is cool. But the first PMG is going to be the 2017 Flare Ultra Spider-Man.
Yeah, it seems like the Flare Ultra Spider-Man, whether it's his first card or not, that one, and now all of a sudden the Vibranium seem to be the 2 that are getting the juice. And the Vibranium predates the PMG, correct? Because that's 2015. Yeah, by 2 years. And I know that those, as I've posted about a couple, those have really caught fire the last, 3 weeks probably. And the Morales ones even more so have really escalated in prices a lot recently. So I'll be curious to see if like an out of 50 Vibranium would go for more. I don't think it would go for more than a green PMG. Still, that's still going to be the dominant force in the market. But needless to say, the vibraniums are getting very well respected prices in the secondary market.
Yeah, they certainly are. Yeah, the Green Miles PMG for 2017 is $100,000 card now.
I don't know that I've seen. When's the last time one of those sold? I don't know that I've ever actually seen a picture of one.
There hasn't been a public sale. There's a PSA 10 on.
Oh, I did see that posted.
Green.
When's the last blue that sold?
I believe a blue sold for 6 or 8K at a PSA 7 or 8.
How long ago? Like a while, or
Yeah, like 3 weeks ago. So
okay.
I think
so it's probably 10K now.
I think a blue, yeah, I think a really clean blue raw is going to be $8,000 right now, and the red's at 35 to 5.
Red might get a little bit of a bump too because of the color match.
Mm-hmm.
Question for you, Spidey. There's been quite a bit of chatter in the card groups recently about getting some admins, bigger names, to act as brokers for bigger sales and trades. Have you heard anything to that effect? You don't have to give away any secret data. If
no, I don't mind. I mean, look, that's actually how the biggest deals have been getting done now for a long time. In recent history, the last 3 or 4 months, that's how a lot of the big deals are getting done, because there's just so much at risk. And, if you don't want to move it through something like eBay or Comc or something like that, it's just going to be the best way to have somebody acting as an agent that both people know and trust, that receives the money in the card and then transfers it to the two parties, and even to some degree handles the negotiations as well.
Yeah, and I've seen some of that as well. People have actually asked me before to broker stuff on the sports card side or work as a go-between, and I'm like, I barely want to be responsible for my own cards.
Well, what we do see happen is people come in and say, look, I haven't been in this hobby very long. I want to go ahead and make my purchase of some of the big cards, and I don't know where to look. Do you know where to look? People come to you and say, hey, I have a card I want to sell. Do you know who's buying? And, the deal ends up happening.
Yeah. Plus, as it just as anything in life, the people who you know is more important than anything else. So if you know that a certain person is a big character collector, and then someone comes to you and says, hey, I'm looking to move this green whatever character, and you're like, oh, well, actually, I may know a person that might be interested in that card right off the get without even really having to put a ton of legwork in.
It's a real network. I'll tell a quick story because the guy made it public. He comes to me and says, hey, look, I've got a full rainbow of this character, and I've got it listed for, really high price on eBay, but, I'd like to sell it privately. I already knew somebody that was looking for it, put the deal together in literally 30 minutes for almost $30,000. And the deal's done in a week. Both parties are very happy. And, this kind of goes back to some of the conversations we've seen on Instagram. A lot of these big sales that are happening are not happening publicly. And so the people that are, chattering about, is this shilling, is this whatever, it's not even close to the biggest sales that are occurring in Marvel cards right now.
Yeah, for sure. I'll circle back to some of that stuff here in a second. Burrow Prism Black Auto Redemption and Panini noticed some of the physical. I would email them, Eric. That's your best bet. And it might just be that they have limited numbers and they're slowly filling them in the order that they've been redeemed in. That's the only guess that I can take. When will Star Wars cards take over? I'm not super familiar with Star Wars card stuff. I mean, I have some autos from the animated series. I have a Lars Mikkelsen Thrawn and an Ashley Eckstein Ahsoka Tano, and I actually have quite a bit of stuff on my watch list. There's some other things that I'm interested in character-wise. That's the only part of the Star Wars market that I kind of dip my toe in, and it's more for PC than it is for I'm buying it to potentially flip later. Do you own a Star Wars card, Justin?
I do. Yeah, and I'm being cautious about jumping into that because Marvel cards is already so demanding of my money and time. But I actually love Star Wars. I'm a huge fan. I don't only watch movies, I read the books. So I can't wait to wake up at 4:30 tomorrow morning and watch Boba Fett.
Yeah, I watch it before I go into work too, because I'm always afraid of getting spoiled on something throughout. It's just anytime I open up YouTube, Facebook, IG, Twitter, I'm afraid all I'm going to do is see a screenshot of something. And now that we're kind of basically in the end game of that series, one screenshot could really, really mess up your enjoyment factor. And it's not like I could stay off the internet for the day. I'm getting a billion messages at any given time about a billion different things. So
Well, last Wednesday, I woke up early and opened up Facebook, and I heard, and somebody said, that was a great Mando episode. I was like, "God, that's a dumb comment. What was that?" And then I watched it. Of course, now I understand it, but
Yeah.
thankfully it didn't ruin it for me.
That really, I mean, that what we knew he was coming anyways. They put that on a T at the end of
I
the episode
didn't.
prior
I
to
had
that.
no clue. I totally missed it.
Oh, really? You missed
I
that
had
whole? Oh,
not like the whole music at the end.
yeah, that whole music cue.
I didn't hear it for whatever reason. I
Oh,
did not
as
hear
soon
it.
as they did it, me and my wife looked at each other and we're like, "Oh yeah, let's go."
But it was
Comic book
such a sweet
side, do you think
spot.
there's an opportunity investing in Jonathan Hickman Marvel related? I see the angle that you're going for here.
Mhm.
I don't know that I have ever seen a particular creator classified as a key.
He did
Justin, you could,
astonishing. I think he did Astonishing X-Men.
yeah, that's what I know him from. He's done other stuff too, but Astonishing X-Men is where I know his work the
I
fondest.
think I think there's, and I have very little basis for this, so whatever you wanna do with it. But I think if Disney or when, excuse me, Disney brings in the X-Men, I some of that version I think is possible, the Astonishing X-Men.
It is, but I don't know if that drives a ton of value to the books. It's still not like in an Astonishing X-Men run. I think the only key first appearance is Abigail Brandt from the I think that's her name, the
Mhm.
director of Sword,
Yeah,
which is
I love
rumored that
that book.
potentially that's who Emilia Clarke is playing. So that could have massive impact, but I don't know. I've just never in the in and like I said, I could be missing something. I've never seen
Mhm.
like creator keys, if that makes sense, other than maybe like Kirby or Stan or something like that. And usually their stuff is tied to some monster blue chip key anyway, and that's what's driving the value.
Right, even like Jim Lee's first X-Men book is not a great cover and it's not a good big storyline. I just think because this is a story arc and story arcs are starting to catch steam, big
Yeah,
events. But that cover for Abigail, first appearance with Colossus and
that's a
Kitty
classic
Pryde,
cover and also a key together.
I think it's a great book, regardless of what happens.
Yeah. Hit this real quick. Vanity Ball Business will be a few. I agree. I think it's a sinking ship. It's a slowly sinking ship. They're not like pulling the plug on it, but oh, they're basically telling you like we're gonna slowly exit out of the card business, and that's going to in fact impact the buying and selling on the platform because people aren't going to have confidence to send new inventory in. People are going to be constantly pulling stuff out going forward. So it's just going to wither on the vine essentially, which is probably what they're hoping for. Rob, will you be at Culture Collision in Atlanta? I am extremely close to 100% committing to that event. I have a few more things to put into place, but I am strongly looking like I am going to be there. But I
Well,
don't want to
yeah.
not 100% yet, but we're about as close as I could possibly be. We got a few other I's to dot and T's to cross.
I think it's going to be
We're locking
special.
that in.
I think we're gonna have a great time.
That's my biggest reason for going is like it went from like I know a couple people that are going to like I know everybody that's going. Like
Yeah.
there's just a ton of people, and a lot of them are people that I met at the national, and a lot of people like you and Norin and some other people that from the sports card side that I have never met in person, or have been in the same room but didn't necessarily have a relationship with them yet.
Mhm.
So I am very interested to go to that show, even if I don't buy or sell a single card, just to kind of
Right.
hang out for a couple days and eat some Hattie B's hot chicken
Well,
because they
me
have
and
one in
me and
Atlanta.
Marvel Guy got 2 tables next to each other in the center, so we got
Oh, nice,
plenty of space. You wanna
nice, nice, nice.
hang out.
My wife knows. I'll be glued for 2 hours.
Don't trade us for your wife. Go ahead.
What's the next big comic book goal each of you have on your radar? Mine is X-Men #4.
Ooh.
First appearance of Scarlet Witch. I keep trying to track one down. I keep getting distracted spending money on Marvel cards and the price of that book. I feel like I've almost missed my window now with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness on the cusp of being here. So I may have to put that one to the side and circle back to it later. But X-Men #4 is the #1 comic book on my list that I want to knock away.
So big goal, so I wanna finish my Surfer run, but it's not any big books left for that. Um, Gosh, I don't really have a big goal right now that I'm chasing, to be honest with you.
Test it. No, we have not dove into that yet, but I'm sure that we'll probably talk about it in a second. Steve, I see you backstage. I'll get you in 1 second. I just want to blaze ahead real quick and just get caught up on chat. So I'm probably going to miss some stuff here before I bring Steve on. We got Flipping Steve in the background. Jeff, what is going on? Jeff is one of my local card dealers here. Sets up at all my local shows.
I do need the Black Cat, by the way, first appearance.
I got it sitting right here.
Is it 283 or something like that?
Right here. 194.
194. Sorry, 194. I just cannot believe I don't have that book. Yeah, no.
I got that for a steal on my slabs. Absolute steal. The Brian Flores stuff, I haven't really like dug into it yet, other than the fact that he chose violence when he woke up this morning. It was basically my summation of that. I have not like dug in, so I don't want to like sit here and pontificate on it.
All right, 9.2s real quick. So, much older books, 9.2s are really special, but you go late 70s, 80s, 90s, people give you a lot of value for them. I think they're a great play long term.
Yeah, and I just bought that. I typically like to go a little higher grade than that. I was looking for that. If I was going to buy that book, I would probably look to buy it in a 9.6. The only reason that a big reason why I bought it is that 9.2s were doing like $900 on eBay all day long, and that was sitting on my slabs for like $645 or something, or $625. I think I paid for it. And there's going to be more of a spec around it. That is actually a book I would potentially look to flip. It might be the first comic book that I ever sell. So with that being said, we have Flipping Steve in the background. We'll go ahead and bring him on. He looks like he's ready. I've held him long enough. What is going on, good sir?
Oh man, hey, don't stop what you're doing on my account, on my accord. You guys keep on going. I'm just here to sit in the middle.
What's up,
and I feel like I'm the one with the light tonight. Usually I'm the one with the pale face and the pale face is still there, but usually I'm the one without the lights. I'm interrupting this little romantic scene and ambiance you guys got going on, but somebody has to
lighting setup I'm trying out.
I like it.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay. Yeah. But you can't see your comic books like that.
I know. Trust me, I'm well aware.
You need to get yourself some little like I don't know, running lights or something back there.
Yeah. So my walls in the office in the basement are orange, and they have Cleveland Browns stuff around the top. And the house was actually like this when we bought it, so I just left it. So I have the ring light bouncing the light off the wall, which puts me in good light, but then it gives the background like a little orange effect without me even having to do anything. So it kind of works out kind of nice, but I do kind of like having the one bank of fluorescent lights on so you can kind of see what's going on back there. Like you can't even see the Sentinel, and that's kind of a shame.
Or you can't
see there's a Transformers poster.
Transformers.
Yeah, you can't see Slave 1 back there. It's I'm experimenting. I wanted to be intimate with you guys tonight, so I figured I would
I'm feeling it
into the darkness. Atlanta gonna be nuts. Yeah, I think it's gonna be nuts.
So I can't say what it is, but me and Sketch Card are working on something really special for all the Marvel card content creators, which you two guys fall into for us. And we're really hoping we can pull it off. You got to be there.
Yeah, interesting. Got something brewing.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm not sure what I missed earlier. I didn't realize you were going live, so I cooked dinner and stuff. And
you're fine. I kind of open talking about Star Stock. We talked a little bit about Tom Brady. What else did we talk about?
Mahomes,
about Patrick Mahomes,
comics, brokering Marvel card deals.
Yeah, just normal stuff. Nothing too.
Yeah, crazy. I caught that part. Yeah.
Yeah, not much, honestly.
When the X-Men appear in the MCU, which character that hasn't been used before will be a good investment? Literally all of them. When we get X-Men casting news, anything involving the MCU, X-Men books are going to go freaking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think casting is going to play the biggest role, personally.
I don't even think it's casting. It's just announcing that character is going to be in the MCU. I don't know if it even matters who's going to play him.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I really do. Like for Wolverine, that's just going to go nuts. Even though Wolverine should already be nuts. Like it's going to happen. Like, why wait for a casting?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what if they introduce someone like Morph, who was only in the animated series, right?
I'm sitting on a gold mine because I have an X-Men Adventures #1 and a CGC 9.8, and that's his first appearance in comics. And there's like 40 on the CGC census.
See, like to me, like those, but something really cool that's going to happen tomorrow is I'm interviewing Eric Lude, I think is how you say his last name, the creator of X-Men the animated series.
Oh, that's going up on the channel, or
yeah, I'm probably gonna. I don't know if I'm doing it live. Probably gonna record it.
Yeah, it's gonna get posted to your YouTube channel.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that one.
But I don't think they realize how much. Sorry, go ahead.
If it's an established X-Men character, I probably will say Rogue. Just because, well, also depending on who they cast to play her, but the female characters, again, get popular.
See, I think she was totally miscast in the first X-Men.
Yeah. and they didn't do much with. They made her seem really weak in those because she was just learning her power. She didn't understand how to do anything. Most of the X-Men were portrayed as being young in those, but I think her being really popular. She's one of the more popular ones that I think will get even more popular because we see kind of like a Scarlet Witch effect. I could see that happening to Rogue, and then somebody they haven't used if they decide to use them. I like Bishop. I think Bishop is a good one. And I think a lot of people in the comic book world like his comics. And enemy-wise, if they cast like a Omega Red or something like that, could be really cool too.
Yeah, the only problem with Rogue is their cover sucks. The cover on her first appearance it's one of the worst
Avengers
covers.
annual.
It's one of the worst covers.
Worst key covers in existence.
You want to hear something really crazy? Todd McFarlane says that's his favorite comic book ever.
Really?
Yeah, says he buys everyone he sees.
That's so weird.
Isn't it weird?
Thoughts on UD Exquisite? Seems like an interesting connection to the sports card market. So I'll open this and then you guys can take a swing at it. To me, the thing that keeps, and not that UD Exquisite does really well because it does, but there definitely seems to be, and Justin, this will be in your wheelhouse. There seems to be a pretty big divide on the Marvel card side of MCU versus comic books, and it seems like a lot of people spend their time in one or the other with a little overlap in between. Am I surmising that correctly?
No, I think you're pretty close to the truth there. People typically pick one lane or the other and not both.
Okay. That's kind of what I thought. And to me, I don't know what it is. The MCU stuff has never really been like a huge interest to me. The only thing that intrigues me is some of the screen-worn material stuff. I find that interesting. And some of the actor autograph stuff I find interesting. But just having like a Tom Holland diamond card, I would much rather have a PMG of somebody or a Vibranium or a sketch card or something along those lines than a Tom Holland Spider-Man with 4 different colored gems in the bottom of the card. It looks nice, but it's just not for me. Steve, have you looked at any MCU specific cards at all?
I looked at some of the neat looking like Infinity Stone relic cards that had look like little manufactured diamonds on the bottom and things like that. They look neat and they're kind of gimmicky. But again, I think not a photo of an actual person, some kind of artwork, whether it's photo art or actual drawn art, is the way that I like to go on my Marvel cards, especially the more and more I get into it. I'm starting to be like, damn, that's a good looking Marvel masterpiece. And that's something I wasn't saying 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, I was like, man, these Vibraniums look good. These PMGs are expensive. But I was looking over stuff today and I'm finding some really nice stuff that I actually appreciate the artwork for. Again, being somebody that collects comics and buying Strange Tale keys that I like the covers of, or keys. A lot of time when I buy my key comic books, it's based on cover. So, I love the Silver Surfer 3. I love that cover. And it's a shame that I don't have one. But a Doctor Strange 169. I love that cover. It's my favorite cover in comic books. I did just pick up and I'm getting off track. But anyway, the closest thing to sports cards to me was the Vibraniums. That's why I gravitated to them. And I've said that time and time again. But from a sports card perspective, I see them being more popular than, say, the Exquisites. The Exquisite stuff's really high dollar. It was like you buy a box for like $800 and you get a few cards in there. It's kind of like buying a box of Flawless. Well, not price wise, but you just get like a little. It's not like you're busting 24 packs or anything like that. And again, what happens when that actor is no longer playing that character, or that actor is known for something else? Like I've always said Robert Downey Jr. to me isn't. He plays Iron Man, but I picture him in other movies. I'm old enough to have watched a lot of his stuff when he was younger and things like that. So yeah, he was great as Iron Man. And to a lot of people who are younger, Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. But to me, Robert Downey Jr. is a lot of different things. So, even if I was looking for a Robert Downey Jr. autograph, I would rather have that on like a Hollywood Icons card or something like that out of Don Russ Americana or something than I would actually on a Marvel card. But that's my personal taste.
Yeah, I actually see a lot of appeal to flipping Steve's point. The way the set is structured is kind of like an Exquisite Sports Flawless set, the way it opens and the way it presents itself. The prices are already strong. They were strong before any real bump that we've seen the last 4 or 5 months. You're talking $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 cards in that set. I sold a card for $1,300 out of the set, raw, like immediately after I opened it. Other cards for 600, 800, all raw. They have actor autos, and sports card people are okay with just having an image, a printed picture of a person. So, and that's what the MCU stuff is, and that's what pulls other Marvel card collectors away from it, because it's not original art or comic book art. It's a photo of somebody. Most of it's numbered, which is special. To your point, they have the relics and the worn costume stuff, which is similar to like a jersey card. So I think it has a lot of appeal.
Interesting question here on the Upper Deck presses and increasing printing on Spider-Man metal, or do you think the production process is already set in stone? It seems like that product keeps getting pushed back, and the Spider-Man metal speculation for me is one of the, like, it's really going to send things a certain direction or another. If the PMGs come out, which they know this, we all know this, if the PMGs coming out look like the ones from X-Men metal, it's going to send that product in one direction. If they come out looking like legitimate PMGs, that stuff's going to go nuts, in my opinion. Have you heard anything one way or the other? And I know that Upper Deck was very aware of the I guess I'll say negative feedback on the X-Men metal PMGs, but the question is were they able to react to that for Spider-Man metal? And do you have a best guess on when we see Spider-Man metal?
Yeah, best guess is going to be April 1st, March 30th, April 1st is my best guess. Who really knows, right? They basically, Upper Deck's representatives have said into first quarter for start of the second quarter. I actually see it more as it's going to be a strong kind of flat if the PMGs don't hit. And then if they're perfect, what's perfect? If they're really good, it's going to be really nuts. But yeah, it's not pink. How about that? If it's actually red. But I think the Spider-Man and the Miles and the Gwen, almost regardless, are going to still do well. But man, if that comes out with the right foiling, it's going to be insane. As far as the printing presses, they released early, like summer of last year, what the odds were. So I don't think they can go backwards on that unless they put out a new sales sheet. So I think the print that they're doing is going to be what it is. Where they can change it is potentially on ePack, because they can add a lot more digital cards and really grow the size of the set on ePack.
Yeah, I'm definitely hyped for that product. I wish I would have pre-ordered more boxes. That is for sure. I dropped the ball on that one. I've got a couple questions about this, so let's go ahead and I'll open this up and then we'll just kind of see where it goes. The card porn post today on Marvel cards. So I'm going to preface this by I have done a fraction of the research I probably need to on this to talk about it at the level that they are. But essentially what was said, or it seems to be said, is that it was implied that Auth as a company is manipulating the Marvel card market. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't 100% know. I don't know that anyone really 100% knows for sure. Someone knows for sure. To me, it seems more like people are using people purchased cards on eBay, sent them to Auth, and then listed them to resale. And then there is some suspicious bidding activity on some Marvel PMG sales where it looks like the same two accounts are duking it out for Marvel PMGs. But like I said, I have not spent a ton of time in this. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say it's Auth specifically doing it, because I don't know that we know that. And I don't know that I will ever know that. I've been presented with some information and evidence that that person believes that they are, exquisite, right? Exquisite collectibles.
Eccentric collectibles.
Sorry. I knew there was an E and a collectible in there. We were chatting back and forth on some stuff, and he has some interesting information, that is for sure. I just don't know that I am ready to make the leap that it's Auth themselves buying the stuff. This just seems like a classic case of what we see a lot in this stuff. Did someone probably do something shady to potentially manipulate a market? Maybe, probably. Was it Auth themselves as a company? I personally don't think so, but I could be wrong. But I think it was someone that was using an Auth vault and maybe potentially buying under whether it's a group of people or an individual person that just didn't want to release their real name, purchasing this stuff and then having it sent alt to relist. That's where I'm at with it right now. My opinion could change, but this literally came out an hour or two before we started this live stream. So it's not like I've sat here and done 5 hours worth of research on this or days worth of research on it as some people have. So that's my kind of quick take on it without like, deep diving into it is where I'm at with it. I mean, it's kind of like news at 11. People in a market potentially bought out part of the market to control some of the inventory. The only thing that I would really question is like card porn's kind of like basic take that alt bought every Marvel card to manipulate the market. We all know that that's not the case. That's a little hyperbolic. So that's kind of like the only real issue I kind of had with it was that. So we'll go around the horn here. I'll throw it to you first, Steve, and you're kind of probably getting this the newest. I don't know how much time you've had to actually dig into this, but just kind of the general take of like whether it's this alt thing or not, like the Marvel PMG market and, how much of it's market manipulation, how much of it's real, and does it even matter at this point? Because the cat's, the snowball's rolling down the hill at this point.
Yeah. And yeah, I read the post. I've read some of the comments on it. I haven't been able to research it. So I can't, again, I can't go into if it's true or not, if it's alt or not, who is it, who it isn't. I can say newsflash, shield bidding and market manipulation takes place across all cards, not just Marvel. I had a mail day. It was a little bit of everything. I got 2 Marvel cards. I got a Star Wars card. I got a movie card. I didn't get a rock and roll sticker today. I got one yesterday, and I got a basketball card. So again, I'm still looking across the board at everything, and I'm watching auctions on everything getting shilled. It's just something that happens. We have a Marvel chat going on IG, and we will see a card and we will talk amongst each other and say, what do you think that's going to end at tonight, guys? Because it's too rich for my blood and a lot of our blood. And we're just curious, man. I wonder what that card is going to end at. I know I'm not going to be able to buy it. And at the end of some of these auctions, not many, but occasionally I have put this kind of looks shady. Look at some of the bidders on this. But with that being said, that's one in quite a few. You'll see like 10 really high sales go off, and you'll see maybe 1 or 2 that look suspicious where you got 0 feedback bidders, maybe running them up. But, close your eyes or don't look at the description of the card and you wouldn't know what you were bidding on, because that happens on all cards. And anybody who say that doesn't happen in the baseball market, the basketball card market, they're wrong. Everybody has complained about it one time or another, whether they're talking about Probstein or talking about not Comc, but another auction house, PWCC. It was booted off eBay for it. So again, it just exists. And now there's more focus going into the Marvel card market, so it's going to exist just like it exists in everything else. Unfortunately, that may not have been the case prior because, Marvel cards weren't seeing the popularity that they're seeing now. But with that popularity is going to come some of the bad parts of what goes on in all of the trading card market.
Well, if you don't mind, yeah. So I'm gonna give a pretty full answer here because I really think this needs to be addressed. So if you go back to 1996 is when Marvel went bankrupt and local comic book shops, cards, coins, and collectibles they shuttered and closed all across America, right? So Marvel cards at that point went dormant. It wasn't available to the masses. From 96 really until recently, Marvel cards has just been available to a select few who knew where to look, when to look, and how to collect it. That's it. During that time, from 96, enters Pokemon. Pokemon then fills the void that Marvel cards and Marvel going bankrupt left in that space. And Pokemon's flourished. It's doing great, wonderful, right? And so through that time period, Marvel is not being developed and growing really like it should. And so then enter, October, November of 2020, 90MU starts to take off. That catches people's attention, including Neo here on this channel, made some great videos about it. And it reawoken people to the fact that Marvel cards, are still around. and are gaining some value. And it brought back those early 90 collectors back into the hobby. It happened simultaneously while 2020 Marvel Masterpieces was being released. And it really sucked a lot of those people back into the hobby in a pretty strong way. Fast forward to May, the golden auction happens, and a green PMG Spider-Man, which people thought would sell for $9,000 to $13,000, settled at $34,000. That caught the eye and attention of non-Marvel collectors, people who didn't collect only in the 90s. We're talking about people who said, okay, what's this thing called Marvel cards? And what I'm about to tell you is stuff that you're not going to hear or read about on Instagram or whatever else. But there are people who looked at the hobby and said, okay, Marvel cards right now has a current market cap of $15 million, meaning if you took $15 million, you could likely buy just about every Marvel card you wanted at that time, not today, back then. And they started buying these cards. And we're talking not just one buyer, we're talking multiple buyers, okay? Because this is not something that only one person is seeing. And what they said was, what if Marvel cards had developed like it should have from 96 to today? What would that market really look like? Where would these values really be? Does Marvel cards have a market cap of 30 million, 100 million, 200 million, 500? Like, what is it? I don't know the answer, but there's a belief that there's a lot of upside to Marvel cards. So these people start buying these cards at a really high rate. A lot of them are not public sales, like the bulk of the real big, true big sales are not public. And what's ever happening on auth? What are we talking about? 100 cards? Like, if that? It's not the market at all, even close. And so, where will this hobby go? Like, where will Marvel cards from a value standpoint go? Like, I don't know what the top is. I don't have those answers. But to presume for card porn to lead with, these people from alt is like dictating the market of Marvel cards, it's just ludicrous. And it's just not true.
Yeah, it just seemed like a stretch. Like, I get it. Did something shady probably go on with those cards and those sales? Yeah, potentially. Probably in some cases. Absolutely. But to pin like the entire thing on that, I thought was a huge stretch based off the stuff that I'm seeing anyway. And there was a comment here I wanted to get to.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention about that post was that card porn also spun it to say, this is terrible for the collectors. From whose point of view is this terrible for the collectors? Because first off, and I don't want to come off the wrong way, but the high-end PMGs have been out since 2013. So if the collectors don't have theirs by now, that product's been out for 9 years. So if and they've been cheap. So if the collectors don't have theirs by now, then they didn't buy them because they didn't think they were going to have any value. Okay, in 2000, I had a Tom Brady Contenders on-card ticket auto in my hand at my LCS, and the card shop owner wanted $12 for it. And I put it back. Why did I put it back? Because it was Tom Brady. He was a backup quarterback, and I never thought it would have any value. Am I angry now that card could have, bought me a house? No, I'm not. It's just the way that it works, right? So to say that this is bad for collectors because now they can no longer buy the cards that they wanted to buy. These cards have been on the market for 9 years at affordable prices. If anything, it's good for the collectors who have been buying them when they were cheap, because now they have someone that's willing to buy something off of them if they're willing to sell and actually make something out of it. I don't think anybody completely, some people collect cards for different reasons. Like, I have lots of cards that I know will never be worth any money, but I collect them because I relate to them in some sort of way, whether it's a memory or an emotional thing or something. I relate to that card in a certain way. But I also have cards that I collect that I will sell for the correct price, for the right price. That makes sense. So again, I don't think anybody completely collects something thinking, this is never going to be worth anything. They may collect somebody that, that was somebody that grew up in their hometown or played for their favorite college team. And they may know that player may never be worth a lot of money from an investment standpoint. But they collect that because it's affordable and it's fun. But then they have other stuff that they collect in the hopes that it's going to go up in value. So to me, I'm thinking that if anything, this is good for some of the collectors who can move some of their inventory and maybe buy other things that they really, really want now. And that's I didn't like the take on this is bad for the collectors. You know, is that generally speaking? What percent? Whose point of view is that? I don't know.
Yeah, Sirius Shaba says in chat, it is bad for new collectors, which I get, but I don't know if a brand new collector coming into the market is immediately jumping the PMGs, even when they were at affordable prices. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I don't know.
I was
But
there; they were not. I mean,
yeah, but I could see that as being like if you're a brand new person potentially looking to get into Marvel cards, whether you're looking at PMGs or not, all of a sudden you're seeing these soaring prices. Just to get a box of X-Men Metal physical is $400 or $500. New products coming out at a higher price. It's restricted quantities. You have to get it from certain people. If you want to talk about market manipulation, go look at some of the websites that sell pre-sell Marvel cards. That's market manipulation at its finest with what they do at the prices before release. So I could see that side of it, potentially hurting new collectors coming in. And I'm not trying to defend Alt. Alt has definitely done a lot of shady stuff in the past. I just don't necessarily know that, and I really don't know. It legitimately could be them. I don't know that it's necessarily Alt is the one doing this or a user on Alt. That was the only thing I was splitting hairs with. So I don't know.
But
well, my
if you
comment
spin that
directly.
around, if you spin that around 180 though, and you say, okay, we're talking about a new card. We're talking about a new collector when it comes to the Marvel card market. Well, all sports card markets have been inflated. What if you're a new collector when it comes to the sports card market? Why is this specified towards Marvel right now? I'm trying to talk at the collectors market in general. If you're trying to get into basketball cards right now and you want to come into and be like, oh, I got to get a Michael Jordan rookie, are you going to be able to do that? With some of these PWCC auctions and stuff that we've seen get run up really high that a lot of people thought weren't legit. And yeah, they got talked about at the time, but people got over it. They didn't harp on it. They were like, well, it's a Michael Jordan rookie. What do you expect? Well, it's a Spider-Man PMG, numbered out of 10. What do you expect? It's like there's an entry level for any collector in any sport. You just got to find it. There is not everything in Marvel is blown up.
Well, my thoughts were
it's gaining steam, but there's entry level in basketball, but people want premium stuff, and when they want premium stuff, unfortunately, these days you got to pay for it.
Well, my thoughts were specifically related to card porn, saying that they were driving the entire market. I mean, maybe they're a bad player, and I hate that. I really do. I don't know Alt. Never done anything with Alt. I don't whatever. But there's just no way that that's what's driving the entire market. I mean, there is look, the reality is these cards are special. They're really cool to have in hand once you have them. They're fun to collect. They're rare, and they're characters that people love and adore, and they want to have them. And the more and more people realize that they exist, they're going to chase and hunt them. And what price they pay is the price they pay.
And just to put this out there for myself, I don't have an Alt account. I've never been to. Do they have an app or is it a website? I don't know. I've never even looked in.
And they have a website.
I people have told me that I should get it to look up comps. I've never done that. I've never signed up for it. I have no use at the moment for myself for Alt. Never done anything with it. So this isn't me talking and trying to defend Alt. If Alt's guilty, they're guilty. That if they're not, they're not. And it is what it is. I'm just talking from a general person sitting back and watching the entire market, and somebody who buys a little bit of everything. Everybody knows I buy everything. So that's just my perspective on it.
Yeah, and I don't want to belabor this too much, but like Cards and Comics is right here. If it was someone legitimately sitting down, or a group of people that said, because a lot of these sales, from the way I understand it anyways, initially when they were initially purchased was back in late 2021. Like September, or October, November, etc. I mean, this isn't buyouts are, the Cards and Comics points. I've been watching Rudy the Magic Guy for years on YouTube. He talks about buyouts once every 3 months. Oh, here's someone tried to buy out this Legends card. You usually see it with older MTG products where someone essentially goes out, spends a bunch of money to buy every copy of that card that they can find on the open market to jump the price 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100% in some cases, and then slowly sell down their inventory into the new floor. And on a PMG market, if you had a lot of money in the foresight, you could probably do that because it is a limited number of cards. They're numbered. a lot of them are off the market in collections. So, I mean, if someone come out with evidence that said this is absolutely what happened here, I wouldn't be necessarily surprised by that, because it happens all the time, even outside of collectible markets. It happens in business every single day.
I
Look
mean,
at
I literally
Microsoft just bought Blizzard. Sony just bought Bungie. This stuff happens in the business world and in the collectible markets. Is it good, bad, or indifferent? It just depends on your perspective, I guess.
Well, I literally watch Fibonacci levels every day. It's floors and ceilings. You're trying to decide, is the current ceiling the next floor? Or is the current floor the next ceiling? Like, that's literally what we're doing every single day. And right now, Marvel cards, it had a really low ceiling, right? And people realize that the floor should be way up higher. And there are some people who saw it first because they had a lot more experience in other collectible assets, so to speak, and they've taken a significant position in the hobby, in Marvel cards. And so, yeah, a new floor is being set. Is it sustainable? I don't know. I think it depends on the growth of the hobby, personally.
Yeah. Jordan, I think Jordan pretty much caps this here with any time that involves money that isn't regulated, shady shit will happen, and that is 100% the truth. Yeah, Jordan repeated back what I said. Yeah, I mean, alt is definitely not, the cleanest of companies when it comes to, and Sam is correct here. They are a data collection site, and that's what kind of got them in trouble. I don't remember when that was, about a year ago, where they essentially, for those that don't know, when alt first launched, they had I think it was a Google extension that would show you, if you were just cruising eBay prices, it would show you best offer, buy it nows directly on eBay. It would go in and reveal that data to you, so you didn't have to go to like a 130 point or Market Movers or Card Ladder or whatever, or an alt to find that information. It would just use ebay.com, look at sold listings, and if it was a best offer, buy it now, it would show that. It was an extension that showed that. What they didn't tell people was, at the same time, it was also pulling a lot of browser history that was not disclosed when you signed up for the extension. And I don't remember the specific details now. This was probably 6 months to a year ago. And that got them in a lot of hot water with a lot of people, justifiably so. I was very critical of them when that happened. And I've never used the platform. I have the app because it is good for checking comps in a hurry. It's a nice backup to have. But I've never bought and sold anything on alt, so I don't really have vested interest in the platform one way or the other. So, but anyone have anything else they want to touch on that? Otherwise, I'm going to put a bow on that, and we will move on to new business.
I mean, just generally speaking, you never want to buy anything at its peak. And I'm not saying that Marvel PMGs are at their peak. They may not. They may only might be halfway there, but a lot of people are outpriced. And if you're on a budget, you never buy at the peak. If you're looking for profit margins in the end, you never buy at the peak. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. So it's like, if you're looking at Marvel PMGs and you're like, man, they're run up, I just can't buy them anymore, look for something else. And it doesn't have to be Marvel. Say to yourself, is modern basketball or vintage being overlooked at the moment? Is some of these football quarterbacks that have been eliminated, are they being overlooked at the moment? You don't always have to go with the flow. You can zig when everybody else is zagging, or the other way around. And I'm not going to say buy what you love, because sometimes buy what you love can be pricey. I mean, you ultimately, in the end, you want to like what you're buying. But if you love Marvel PMGs right now, that's a tough break for you. But find something else, because everything goes in cycles. I always say that. Don't buy at the peaks. If you're looking at Marvel PMGs and you're on a budget, let the big people buy them out. And buy what you can buy and what you like that makes sense. That's smart, especially if you're looking for a margin in the end.
For sure. Question for you, Steve. Josh here has a bunch of music cards. Probably not worth sending to PSA. I have a feeling I know your answer here, but I'll let you take this. But SGC resale values are weak. Where you obviously grade a ton of music stuff, so you want to kind of like lay out your thought process on what you send where music wise?
Yeah, it's going to depend on the item. So right now, if you can get in the PSA for $50, I would take the PSA over the $30 SGC submission. If you can't, SGC makes sense. Are these, the first question I got to ask is, are these for your collection or are these for resale? Because if they're for your collection, you can keep them raw, or you can have them slabbed by SGC just because you want a slab. I like to have my stuff slabbed. Not everything is, because it doesn't make sense to send it in at the moment. If it's a higher end, you know, sometimes there's some music stickers and cards and collectibles out there that are in demand.
Mhm.
They're not all the bands that I like, everybody likes, but Jimi Hendrix, people will buy Jimi Hendrix stuff. If you're talking about the Rolling Stones, people will buy Rolling Stone stuff. So, you know, if you have nice old stickers, Elvis, the Beatles, if you have nice old stickers or cards of them, that's probably worth sending to PSA, to be honest, because you can get a good grade. And what I mean by good grade is a 5 or 6 or higher, and probably make money. I mean, I graded a Jimi Hendrix sticker that I bought for $35 with PSA, and it came back graded a 7, and a 7 goes for about $500. So what I'm in, even if I was to send it in at $100, which I didn't at the time, but I'm just using this as an example, I'd be in $135 for the sticker and the PSA slab. But I would only, you know, and it's worth like $500. Where in an SGC slab, I might be able to get half that for it. But the thing is that you're also talking about slab competition. This is something I've talked about a lot on the channel with oddball items. Slab competition means if someone wants it slab, they got to buy the slab that's on the market. And when you don't see high pop counts on a lot of 68 Panini Cantanti music stickers or 94 Argentina rock card stickers, whatever genre music or what years you're buying, when you don't see a lot of slabs out there, if you're looking to resell, people are just going to buy what the slab it is. You know, there might be a pop 5 of something in PSA, and more than likely they're in collections, which means if an SGC slab hits eBay, someone's going to buy it. It's easier to move the oddball items, in my opinion, than it always is the modern / ultra modern sports cards. The oddball items move better in SGC slabs because of the competition. If you throw something up there in an SGC slab that has 10 PSA listings, you're going to have to wait for probably for all 10 of those PSA listings to get bought before somebody buys your SGC slab. Spin that around, though, there's none listed, period. People are going to have to buy whatever slab you put up there. That doesn't mean go and get a slab that nobody's ever heard of, but SGC, reputable enough. I like SGC personally. So it's going to all be what your end game is for your stickers, your rock and roll stickers. PC, you're trying to make a profit. You're trying to save money on grading fees. Where do they look better in? Some of them look great in the black tux. Some of them don't. I mean, I've even gotten, you've seen the big ones. I have the big stickers and the big PSA slabs that are big. I don't like the big SGC slabs. If I'm doing a 75 Panini Pop Star sticker, they're like mini posters almost, about this big. They come in a big slab. I don't like those. I don't like a double XL tux, if you know what I'm saying. But I like those in a PSA because it looks more like a window. But the other stickers look good in the PSA or in the SGC. So again, I know I didn't just give you a straight up answer, but maybe I touched on maybe some of the questions that you had, you know, to help you determine what you want to do.
I'm going to jump to this question from I Love Podcast. With the increase in PSA pricing, do you think Marvel PSA 9s will hold a greater value than before? I'm going to take this a couple different ways. One, price to grade has no impact on resale value at all. I think it's one of the biggest misnomers, regardless of what entity you're in, whether it's sports cards or comic cards or whatever. However much it costs to grade with a particular company has zero impact on what it's going to sell for in the secondary market. If that was the case, every PSA 9 Kobe White base Prism would be $50 based on that logic, and they're like a $5 card. So the other thing that's going to keep it down, if you're talking specifically like 90 Marvel Universe, no, because PSA 9s are going to be plentiful in 90 MU. If you're talking about a PSA 9 on a PMG, yeah, that's a premium thing. So it really depends on what type of card and what type of set you're talking about there on the PSA 9s. But the general take is that price, what it costs to grade with a company, has next to no impact on what that slab sells for on the secondary market. Because that slab could have been passed around to 10 different people by the time a person's putting it for sale. So they don't care that someone else paid $50 to grade with it.
Yeah, the only time the only thing I would like to add to that is it will hinder around pop report, because like you mentioned a Kobe White Prism 9, any modern day Prism 9, there's more 10s out there than there are 9s. Probably on your 90 Marvel stuff, there's going to be more 9s than there is 10s. And is it making sense to send them in? You know, are people sent, you know, there's tons and tons of this Prism stuff out there because people were bulk submitting them, you know, by the thousands, millions probably. With the 90 Marvel Impel, it's kind of like, if it doesn't make sense to send it in at a certain grading price point, then the pop reports aren't going to blow up because people just aren't going to submit them. So your pop reports aren't going to get overwhelming. So if you're looking at a PSA 9, and I don't know what the numbers are, I don't have them in front of me, but if you're looking at a PSA 9 of say Spider-Man, a popular character, there's only like 200 of them as opposed to maybe, you know, 50 10s. And I don't know, these numbers, I have no idea, but I'm just saying I could see there being enough demand on like a Spider-Man card to where necessarily the pop report's not going to blow up too much because people don't want to send these in at these for these grading fees, because if they're not getting a 10, they're probably taking a loss. So if you could scoop them up at decent prices already graded for you and the work's cut out and the fees are cut out and you want that card, that's the only time I could see that it would make sense.
Yeah, I agree. And I definitely agree with the point that, and someone mentioned it in chat as well, that price to grade can artificially impact the pop report. I do 100% agree with that. And I guess that could potentially swing the price on something, but over time, that's going to level itself out.
Yeah, I did
as price to grade, you know, goes up.
Yeah, case in point for myself, if you saw my one of my 3 Instagram posts today, but if you saw the first reel I did with the 1977 Italy Star Wars stickers, I bought all of those graded. And even in the PSA 8s, I didn't spend over $40 for a single one of them. Could I went and bought those stickers raw? And some of them were even graded 6s. I have 6, 7s, and 8s, all different grades. Could I went and bought some of those stickers raw for like $15? Yeah, I could. I could have. But I preferred to buy them graded, even if they were already in a 6, for like $25. So I was paying $10 more just because it has a slab on it. For myself, that was worth it because the pop reports are super low. You never know what you're going to get on one of those sensitive stickers from 1977. You know, a 6 is actually a decent grade, and you just don't see them. You don't see them come up for sale that much. In fact, almost all of those came from the same seller, and it was like I think by the name of the seller, they had like a comic book shop name, so they were like liquidating some stuff out, and I just bought them all. So it was like,
wow,
yes, there was a PSA 8 of one of them that cost me $40. And then even the rest of them were all less, even the other PSA 8s. So that's a case where I was willing to pay above raw cost because the grading is done. They're already slabbed. To me, they're more valuable in a PSA slab.
Interesting question here from Junkyard Goat Hunters. I'll lead this off and then we can go around the horn. Do you think CSG will become #1 with the upcoming eBay Fanatics deal? No. CSG has a couple things going for them and a lot of things going against them. #1, their current secondary market resale value is terrible. Of the big 4, they are the worst, and it's worst by a mile. They are getting a reputation for being overly tough. And we've talked about this on the last couple live streams. People want, in my opinion, the market wants fair grading, not tough grading. You know, think of it like a teacher in school. You want them to be fair when you turn your paper in, not overly tough. Right now, it feels like CSG is being overly strict on stuff. So that's discouraging people to continue to use them. Could it be a boost for them if they opened up something where it's like, you know, when you send your card in for authentication, you can also have an option in checkout to pay $25 to grade it while it's there? Maybe. Or could you do something with I'll pay $10 and instead of authenticating it, you'll put a raw card review on it? Maybe something like that is a niche for them. I think it'll be good for them business wise, as in a company bringing money into its coffers. I don't know that it'll be great for them I don't know that it changes the CSG secondary market slab value. We talk about this with a lot of the different grading companies. People have an addiction to grading. They want to grade. And they'll grade with whoever is available. But that doesn't necessarily mean the end user actually wants to own that slab. And CSG, from the neck down, they are gorgeous. They are fantastic looking slabs. The label sucks. And in my opinion, they are overly harsh on grading, and those are having big negative impacts on their secondary market. Will a new label help things? Maybe. The other thing that I think hurts them is 9.5 is their gem mint grade, and the secondary market has spoken. They want 10s, whether it's a PSA 10 or an SGC 10. They just want the simplicity of 10s. They don't want to deal with true gem this, min gem that, true gem plus this, min gem plus that when trying to figure out comps for buy, sell, and trade. So I'll go to Justin first. I don't know how much you've had time to dig into this whole eBay authentication process with the $750 cards and up having to go to a third party. So if you have any comments on that and or CSG, go ahead and then we'll throw.
Well, as it relates to Marvel cards and Fanatics, I'm pretty intrigued by Josh's desire to have a frictionless experience for people's cards. And, you know, if CSG, it's hard for me not to say CGC, CSG, you know, as a part of that, you know, the question is like, how do people adapt into it from the Marvel card space? If they figure out a way for, you know, Marvel cards to go to CSG, CGC and get those labels, especially if they can figure out how to have a pop report, because I don't think they do pop reports right now for trading cards. I think it could work for the Marvel card space. But for sports, I have no idea.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I don't see that being a big boost for CSG. It's going to take a lot more than them pairing up with eBay. We don't even know if this thing with eBay is going to work. Like, I know they're rolling it out slowly, but there's still lots of questions that we have talked about on multiple live streams that we don't have answers for. So this could completely fall through. We also had the issue with the fake Tom Brady already, right? Was that legitimately a fake, or was that just out there on Instagram as like a hoax? I don't know, but there was, you know, they're supposed to be authenticating cards for eBay, and like the week that they get announced to be authenticating cards for eBay, a Tom Brady fake auto slips through the cracks. And I know companies are going to make mistakes. It happens with all companies. And the bigger the company, probably the more mistakes you're going to make, because that's how percentages work. With the type of business that CSG is getting, especially on a card that's a Tom Brady, it's not like it was just some unknown auto that slipped through, right? You're going to want to make sure that the Tom Brady card is authentic. So a lot of grading companies have made mistakes lately. So if they all keep making mistakes, one of them's never going to get a leg up on the other. It's just the pecking order is going to sit where it's at. And that's unfortunate, because I want them all to be competitive. So we get competitive pricing and we get competitive turnaround times, and we have more options when it comes to buying and selling and PCing. But unfortunately, at the moment, I don't see much of any of this stuff helping CSG.
Yeah, I think it helps CCG, the parent company, because someone's getting paid out of all this.
Yeah, from a money standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. The company as a whole, it helps. People holding their slabs, hoping for a big jump in secondary market value, I don't think it does. And it will be interesting. So someone that watches my channel reached out and said they bought a card the day that this went live. And they've been updating me on the process so far. So it took about 4 days for it to ship from the seller. The seller shipped it the day that he paid. It took about 3 to 4 business days to get to Florida, where, you know, they do the authentication. It was there for a day, and now it's shipping to him wherever he lives. So all told, it's probably going to add about an extra week on in real life time, you know, 5, like a Monday through Friday type situation. But this is with them with basically zero backlog. And my fear is what happens when it goes to the $250 level, not so much at the $750 level. Mm-hmm. And even the extra week to me is a real pain in the butt. I really wish they made this optional. They must be getting killed on the back end with returns and items not described and stuff like that for them to basically force this on us is the only thing I can think of. And I'm also very curious to see, people are already a little hesitant on this whole thing. What's going to happen when there's a fee involved with this? Because you can 100% tell a fee is coming. They were very carefully worded themselves around it. And I noticed when you look at some eBay posts now, it specifically says at no cost now, I think is the way that it's worded. But then there's extra language in there, something about final value fee may apply. So I have a feeling it's going to be what I speculated on earlier, that there's going to be a percentage fee, maybe on both sides of the table, where the buyer and seller are paying 2% each on whatever, I'm just speculating here, on whatever it is that the item sold for to cover this. Because at some point in time, there's going to be a cost associated with it. I'll see if I can find something that recently sold or that is up that may or may not fall under that category, and see if I can find it.
When we discussed this before, we did say if they implemented a 1% on each side, the buyer pays 1%, the seller pays 1%. Everybody has peace of mind. That's actually a good thing. It's the wait time that could hurt.
Mhm.
And the other questions I have is, to what degree are they authenticating these cards? Are they just saying, okay, I'm looking over this. This is not a reprint. This is a real card. Or are they also checking for alterations? Are they measuring the card? Because that would make buying and selling vintage a lot better.
So they actually, let me see if I could find it. Give me 1 second here.
Neo, if I may, while you're doing that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think a couple of things. I think there's probably a data play in here where CSG is building up a really nice database with the cards that they're having coming in, imaging and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's probably more of that going on than we even realize. I think authentication is important as collectibles, specifically trading cards, move more and more and more into an asset class that people are parking a lot of their money into. Cards being authenticated is going to build a lot of confidence, and confidence increases value and people willing to participate in, that asset. So I can see why this helps them out on a number of different levels. I can obviously see the frustration. I have someone who bought a card, was hoping to get it in time and get it graded before a show in Atlanta. And now that it has to be authenticated, there's no chance for that to happen. And so there's an opportunity lost there.
Gotcha. So what I was trying to pull up here is, on my video about this whole announcement, eBay official YouTube channel, where you can see it's them, they have 134,000 subscribers. So this is the official eBay account on YouTube, actually went into the comments on that video and answered a bunch of questions. And to Steve's point about vintage, and they just answered this today, actually, so it's good on you to bring this up. Someone asked the question about this, and they specifically say authenticators will check to see if the card is altered. However, it will only be failed if the alteration isn't disclosed in the listing. If the card is altered and the seller disclosed it in the listing, then it would pass authentication. So I think that pretty much directly answers what you were kind of answering there, Steve.
Yeah, that's fair. You should read the description and know what you're buying anyway. So if I'm all for full disclosure, because again, I don't sell crap cards. I would rather, give one away than sell it. So yeah, I like that, because I like vintage cards, but I'm not experienced enough in telling what's altered and what's not. I even have a hard time. I have a hard time buying it raw, period. So, I think this opens more opportunity when it comes to cards like that people are sometimes afraid to buy based on lack of knowledge. And it may not even be lack of knowledge. You could have all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't hold a card in your hand yourself, you can't, verify anything. So I like that aspect of it. Again, it's the biggest sticking point is going to be time frame and how it could affect the necessity of you needing a card by a certain time, and the fees that are going to be involved, because fees are already tough. And
yeah, if this drastically impacts turnaround time, and all of a sudden as a seller, if you're losing another, I don't know, say 5% to this or something like that, that's going to be a big pushback. That's why I wish this was optional. If the buyer wants it, there should be a way, split the fee basis or whatever to select for it to go. Because I do agree, for buying vintage raw, this could potentially be a major game changer in that marketplace, whether it's an old school Marvel card or an old school sports card, because that is a big concern. And I myself don't know how to look for that stuff, and it's easy to hide that stuff on an eBay photo anyway. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. eBay actually, they answered a bunch of different stuff on here. I thought about going through the individual comments and clipping it out for a video, depending on if there's enough there. This to me was the one that stood out the most, them directly addressing vintage or the alteration question. It's also interesting to know that eBay reps watch the video. So, and I will agree with, let me get this off and go back into here. There was a bunch of stuff in chat that I wanted to pull up. People talking about non-buyer or non-paying buyers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a massive issue, and they need to figure something out with that.
Do they purge
on that?
Do they purge that?
Oh, go ahead.
Do they purge that, from like the sold sell history when it's not paid?
No, that's the other interesting part of it. It stays as an existing comp. At least for a while. It may eventually get purged, but it's initially on there for at least a while.
Can you look at the eBay Terapeak though?
Yeah,
does the eBay Terapeak show that?
I haven't looked at one recently. Yeah, I haven't done that level of research.
I haven't done it yet either, but a viewer,
because I was questioning 130 point for a while. And that, I mean, how many people are looking at Terapeak versus 130 point or market movers or alt or whatever?
I was doing a little bit of a deep dive last week, and I looked on Terapeak to find out because there were some sales of the 2013 base metal Spider-Man, not the PMG, but the base. And I wanted one, and people were pointing to a $325 sale, $395 sale. And I went on Terapeak, and it had never been paid. And so the prior sales were $175, and that helped me finish the trade that I needed to do because that was the last paid sale.
So it does only show them if they've been paid that.
Yep.
Because I had brought up the Dr. Strange lot, and you remember I brought that up in our IG chat about how the 2013 and 15 PMG Reds, there was a sale that didn't make sense to me. There was just no way that sale made sense to me. And I wanted to look at the Terapeak to see if the person actually bought, and I still haven't. And you guys know which one I'm talking about. I'm not going to get into it again, but again, I'm all about fair sales and things. That's why the alt thing kind of bugs me, and the different perspectives bug me, because I want to know what my cards are worth from an honest value, whether I'm buying them or selling them. So I even look into stuff that I own when I see a high sale to make sure it was legit.
Yeah, in my world, we don't have a comp, even if like it quotes sales and it's listed, say, in like the MLS, it's not verified until it's recorded at the courthouse, where you can prove that there was an exchange of money for keys, so to speak. So it'd be nice if if eBay would kind of have that same process of, hey, we're not going to even verify this as a comp until we prove the card and the money has both exchanged hands.
Gotcha. The chaotic cards point here, CSG is reliable. I respect their grading scale too. There's a good chance CSG supplants SGC in the near future, minus the vintage edge. I don't see it. I don't see CSG passing SGC anytime soon, unless there's like a major Fanatics push from them in a few years. Maybe that's the case, but I don't know that I see CSG supplanting SGC to me, SGC is number 2 now for most stuff. On the respect scale, BGS still gets a lot more respect and is probably more liquid, if that makes sense. But SGC is right with them. And to me, CSG is still a distant 4th. I don't know that we need to necessarily go around the horn about that one. There was another question here. If you guys have comments on that, go ahead. But there was something else.
Well, I was just going to say on the ultra modern, as long as there's PSA around, ultra modern is not going to matter. Your CSG maybe someday gets equal with SGC on strictly an ultra modern level, but SGC, and like he mentions here, in vintage, that's their strength. That's their bread and butter. That's why they've been around since the mid 90s and are still in business. A lot of people think SGC is new and they're not. So, CSG is the new grading kid on the block. So they're the ones that are playing catch up with the other companies.
Oh, that's going wild. This is super small. Let me see if I can make this bigger.
What?
There was a question here about eBay retaking responsibility once it hits authentication in the warehouse. So if it doesn't make it to the buyer, it is not accountable to the seller. eBay actually answered this question as well. I'll just read this. eBay pays out with proof if the item is damaged/lost once it's in possession of the authenticator, including shipping to the buyer. eBay does not cover damage in transit from the seller to the authenticator, but the buyer can file an appeal. So it sounds like they are covering if something happens from the authenticator to the buyer. but I'm sure there's a lot of hoops and shenanigans involved with that for sure. But on paper, it sounds like they might be covering that aspect of it. So
That's
once
interesting.
again, there's probably a lot more to that story, and it's probably going to depend on tracking and what it was that they're saying, you know. So
Yeah, I'm just wondering, what do they go by? Do they go by the, you know, if the end buyer, the end, you know, it finds its final destination and that person claims that the card is damaged, what evidence are they going to go by? Are they going to, is CSG taking photos and stuff of the card when it arrives and when it goes back out? And then are they then going to compare them to the photos that the buyer had listed on eBay? I mean, how are they going to determine who, where, what, why, how the hell it got damaged? I've had a return on me once. It had gone past the 30-day eBay return. This person had buyer's remorse. The card didn't triple in value like they thought it was going to do. They wanted a return. eBay wouldn't allow it because they had missed the window. However, they went through PayPal at the time. PayPal then filed a claim against me for them. I called PayPal. I also contacted, I talked to someone on the phone. I got them online. I sent them scans, the photos of the card that I sent to them. And it was a graded card. So it had the serial number in. They knew I had the right card and everything like that. PayPal ruled in my favor. I don't know how often that happens, but they did not grant that person's return based on the fact that it had been 30 days, even though PayPal allows longer than that. And based on the fact that my photos that I had on my eBay listing matched, you know, the item that they got, and they couldn't say it was a different card because it was serial numbered, had a serial number on the slab. So that was that.
kind of a similar, he says off topic, but it's kind of in the same vein as this. Does anyone have experience with this? When a card says delivered and it's not in your box, other than file with USPS, has this ever happened with any of you guys before, where everything says that it's been delivered, but it is not there? I will say the only time I've ever dealt with this is it said delivered and it wasn't actually delivered, but it showed up the next day. So I'm guessing, and that wasn't with USPS. I think that was with FedEx. I've had that happen with before. That's my only experience there. I've never had it where it says delivered and it never, maybe I had that once with USPS, but same thing. It showed up the next day. I don't think I've ever had it happen that like it just was gone on the wind. Do either, Justin, have you ever had this? Anything like this?
I bought a, I think it was a $300 Ultimate Fallout 4 raw, and it supposedly got delivered in my hometown. I investigated with the USPS, and they delivered it to some actually business, and somebody signed for it. And because they signed for it, I could not win the claim. So it didn't matter that it didn't go to my address. It was a whole crazy thing. But I called the people that supposedly signed for it, and they said it was like washing machine parts or something is what they actually got. So I got totally scammed.
That sucks. Steve, any advice on this one, or ever have any personal experience with this?
Yeah, with me, I have been like one day off before, where it's said delivered and it's still at the post office. I don't know the reason for that being. I've also had, I was on vacation and I also had a package that needed to be signed for, and I wasn't home. I was actually telling the post office was supposed to be withholding all my mail, but the package arrived while I was on vacation and it said delivered. And I'm like, whoa, this sucks because I'm not even home. This is sitting on my porch, right? So I come home, I can't find it anywhere. I don't know where it's at. I go to the post office and I'm like, look, this says it was supposed to be delivered. It says that someone signed for it. No one's been at my house in 2 weeks. I've been out of town. And they showed me where somebody had signed for it. I couldn't even make out the handwriting. So someone had signed for it. Luckily for me, I came home and I was like talking to my mom, and she was like, oh yeah, by the way, my stepdad had come in to feed the dog. And it just so happened that as he was taking care of the dog, the mailman showed up and he signed for that package and put it on top of my refrigerator. Nobody ever told me. So I found it on top of my refrigerator like days after, worried that it was lost and gone and everything. And it had been on top of my refrigerator the whole time.
Justin, I'm going to throw this one to you. Do you know, because the fake PMGs is definitely a thing in the sports car world. Has there ever been any recorded instances of fake PMGs in the Marvel car world? My gut tells me probably no, because it probably wasn't worth it, but maybe going forward it could be a problem.
Yeah, no, and right now I would kind of dare some. I don't want it to happen, but the collectors know their cards so well and where they're at. Like, it would be interesting to see if somebody could actually get that passed. I don't think they could, because the hobby's still really, really small, and we literally know where a lot of the cards are. So if they tried to do something, well, example, it wasn't a fake, but the gold 1 of 1 Old Man Logan PMG that hit eBay and ended at $69,000. Well, we knew where the real 1 of 1 was, and so Upper Deck had to make it right. It wasn't a fake. Somebody had gotten 2 of them, and so I don't think it would work, but I haven't heard of it happening.
Yeah, I don't know how good or bad the fake sports card versions are. I do know that they exist, though. That's a good question for Ryan from Breakout Cards.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we have a mailman in the chat, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
We at USPS have GPS tracking on any scannable. Always talk to your mailman. We will always help.
I remember now. That's how I knew it was like dishwasher parts, is the scan revealed what was in the package.
Interesting.
I had a package that I ordered. It's been over a year now. It's still sitting in New York City Customs at the port in New York. It was 2 music stickers coming from Germany during COVID, and it's just been sitting there. I can still check the tracking, and it says, like, it has some letters that mean like custom center or whatever. I tried to go online and I talked to my post office. He told me to go online and search this, that, and the other. I could never find it, so I just rebought them, and because they didn't cost me a lot of money, I was just out like $30.
Sorry, I keep looking down because I have stuff on my eBay watch list. I want to make sure that I don't miss.
No, Charles, that's not true. My post office is good.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard the most sketchy things about FedEx by far and away. Whether it's cards or comic books, everyone's like, "Don't use FedEx."
And the other thing is like FedEx and UPS. I talked about this on a live drive like last week. They actually will, they're 2 to 7 day services. Back end of those orders, a lot of times they drop off, especially if you're in a town. They drop off packages at the post office, and the post office makes sure they get to their final destination. I think they're under contract like that.
I'll tell you who I've had the best experience with, and I've only used them a couple times, is DHL Express. I bought my Vlad Blue Tops Chrome came from China, Singapore. I don't remember, somewhere in East Asia. And I got that thing in like 3 days.
Wow.
It came like the guy paid like top dollar shipping on it. It was a My Slabs buy last summer. And I got that thing faster than I could ship something in the PSA. It was ridiculous. It was like I was watching the tracking, and it was weird because of the time change. So like the dates were kind of funky for like a little bit, but it got to me lightning fast. I think it got to me in 3 business days, and it threw me off because it was signature required, and it didn't get to the DHL hub in Cleveland, which is an hour away from me, until like noon on a Wednesday. So I didn't think it was going to get delivered that day. And then it actually moved the day it got to the hub at noon. They attempted delivery an hour and a half later. I was like, holy smokes. I wasn't home. I was like, oh, there's no way this is coming today. But it was insane how quickly that stuff moved through DHL Express. And I also used my White Schwartz Amazon boxes from Amazon Japan got delivered DHL Express, and they came lightning fast.
I was going to say the same thing. And my guy, like, I don't even know the guy, but he had my number. He texted me. He's like, hey, are you going to be home? I have these. I should be here around this time from the DHL Express guy.
Yeah. The same thing. That guy texted me too. Yeah. I've always had, I don't know if you could use them for domestic shipping or if they only do international stuff, but I've always had very good experiences with them. A couple times I've used
the Postal Service, the tracking on that Dr. Strange PMG I got from Comc had it being delivered today, and it was actually delivered yesterday while I was at work. So it came, I wasn't here to sign for it, so I had to go get it today, but it came earlier than, they had predicted as well. And we are in the middle and we got snow everywhere here. So
we're gearing up. We're supposed to get hit Thursday again. I'm already planning a work from home day.
Well, ours is clear now. And it's supposed to be 60 degrees on Thursday, so I'm hoping that does away with a lot of it.
So it was almost 50 here today, and then it's supposed to be warm and rain tomorrow, and then Thursday we're supposed to get a foot of snow. So that might be coming your way later in the week, Steve.
We got a foot 2 days
We
ago.
got a foot a couple days. Well, we didn't get the nor'easter like you guys did, but we had about a foot of snow on the ground before. This would be a really good question for Bobbles and Ball Cards because he's a group submitter. The way I understand it is that they sequence them. So it's like this is Steve's cards and they're in a specific order, and then these are Justin's cards and they're in a specific order, and then these are Rob's cards and they're in a specific order. And when the group submitters send to grading, they return them in the same order that they're submitted in. Is the way that I understand it. I could be wrong on that. I've never done a group submission in my life, but I believe that is the gist of how it works. Someone will probably correct me because I am probably wrong.
Yeah, I've never done group submission.
Yeah, people, I've got lots of requests of like, hey, will you do a group submit, or will you ever consider doing group submissions? And I'm like, listen, I freak out shipping my own cards. I don't need to be having other people's cards and dealing with those headaches. No, thank you.
I just don't grade that much.
To me, that's the untapped. And I'll be curious, Steve, if you think the same way. Grading and Marvel is the untapped land.
Yeah,
I knew you were going to answer before you even knew the question.
So for me, this is that's actually probably the number one thing that helps me understand where we're at as a hobby in terms of where the growth, like it hasn't matured. A matured Marvel card hobby will have a significant portion of the cards graded. And until that happens, it's not going to be fully developed, in my opinion. And I think 5% of Marvel cards, 10% at most is graded. Maybe not. That feels too strong to me.
There's probably more 90 MU graded than any other Marvel card.
Yeah, but there's just so many other cards like this. Just 1995 Marvel Masterpieces. It's a beautiful set. It's got parallels in it. It's got some chase cards in it. That great, and they're not easy to grade. Like I would much rather have a PSA 10 from 95 Marvel Masterpieces than I would a 90 MU. And people haven't even started grading those yet at a high level.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what I said in the beginning when I came into Marvel cards and looking at them. I saw that they were very collector based. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times collectors don't necessarily care to have their cards graded. We were just talking about the big sales on PMGs.
Literally put them in binders because we're set collectors.
And it's like a lot of these big sales on PMGs that we've seen, these are raw cards. These are raw cards selling for this type of money. I mean, let that sink in for a second. Raw cards selling for that type of money. Raw. So either there's someone on the other end that is like, this card finally hit the market. I need it for my collection. Or I can buy this raw, and if I grade it, I'm coming out on the end looking pretty good, especially if I get a decent grade. They're so tough to grade that even the 7s sell a lot of times higher than raw cards. That's a Nova and a 6 went for a crazy amount of money the other night. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you just don't see the card. It also comes down to a lot of times, a lot of the stuff that's being collected in the Marvel world so far that I've noticed is the rare items. It's no different than sports where the rare items are, do have the most appeal, do draw the premiums, your low serial numbered stuff. And in sports cards, you kind of like don't necessarily need, a lot of times people will say, why do I need to grade a 1 of 1? There's only one. Doesn't matter what it grades, right? It's a 1 of 1. If something's numbered out of 5, 10, 25. If all 25 of those cards get graded, the highest pop count on that card is always going to be 25. Mm-hmm. If they all grade a 10, the highest pop is always going to be 25. And a lot of times people grade to add rarity. So if grading doesn't necessarily add a whole lot of rarity, then that's one less reason to grade. So if you got collector based and you got rarity, that's 2 reasons right there where you're going to see a lot less graded cards. Now, if you're buying ultra modern mass print run prisms, you got to buy a PSA 10 because a PSA 9 isn't worth anything. You have more 10s than you do 9s. We were talking about that earlier, but that's just kind of what I've noticed. It's an untapped market, yes, but I don't think the Marvel collectors are the ones buying upgraded Marvel cards.
Well,
I don't think. I mean, they might be, but you know,
there are people building PSA 10 sets that are very much collectors because they added that additional element to the hunt and the chase. And so they're very much like chasing a 1996 PSA 10 set, like, and the people that are really close to finishing that, if they haven't already, are they chasing the greatest set of PMGs? Maybe not, but there's just so many other cards other than PMGs that makes this hobby so rich that it's just not very developed, and it's not a lot of them doing it, but there are some that are doing it.
But you're talking about grading an entire set.
I'm probably talking about 10 or 20 people at most that are doing full set grades. Yeah.
I think having something graded in a PSA 10 in an entire set actually adds to the rarity as to just an individual card.
Yeah.
So I can see where that, that's where the rarity comes into effect, where, it's easy to build this set raw, but it's difficult to build this set in a PSA 10. Now, it might be easy to get this one into 10 and this one into 10 and this one into 10, but the others, they're tough to get into 10. And I might not even get this if I don't grade it myself, because not everybody's grading these. So that's where I can see it, as far as set builders go, trying to be crazy and just build. I couldn't imagine building a PSA 10 set of anything.
Yeah.
That, I can see where that could come into play.
Justin, what do you think about Weiss Schwartz? Do you think this is going to be a thing? Do you think it's just going to be the gold stamped cards? Do you think this is a rush because it's an affordable Marvel product that happened to hit at the right time at the right place, and it's going to potentially be forgotten about in a little bit? Like, what's your take on the Weiss Schwartz? Really haven't seen. I mean, I know that the gold stamp cards are selling pretty well. I sent one of the double rares with the black on the background. I sent one SGC as a trial run just to kind of see how it would go. But do you think there's like long-term viability here? Or do you think this is, it's just got its time in the sun because it hit at the right place at the right time?
It's very serendipitous timing because we didn't have Spider-Man metal. That's a fact. It gave us something to rip. I bought 18 boxes, or 18 boxes came in my case. I think I've opened 8 of them, and I'm probably not going to open the rest, because if they do a second print, then and this becomes the first print, and it's clearly that, I think that might be special. In terms of like the raw cards graded, they're all going to grade very well. I mean, the quality on that set was really good. So I don't see like the PSA 10 or SGC 10 being that special, because it's probably going to be a really high pop count. I think the sealed boxes, keeping them sealed, is really the play.
Yeah, I bought 6 boxes altogether. I opened 4. I did not pull any stamped cards. And I sold most of the regular holo foils off, and then I'm leaving my last 2 sealed.
You got to open those other boxes till you get a stamp card.
No, man. Nice try, Steve.
Then once you get the stamp card, then you stop.
Yeah, ABR always be ripping
Then you open the wrong boxes, man.
No, those 2 over there got it in it. They both do. They're sitting right there.
You opened the wrong ones,
you
man.
see them. They're right there. Right there. I actually still have. I recorded 2 box openings. The second video has been recorded for a month, and I just haven't had time to post it.
Do you still have a G.I. Joe box?
No, I ripped that live.
I didn't know if it was your last one or not.
I only had one. Yeah, I ripped it live on the 1 year.
I was saying the other box had the gold border in it.
The 10K sub anniversary was the G.I. Joe box. Rip. It made it better that I ripped it, because then when that happened, just all the memes came my way. The Logan Paul thing.
I had a ton of singles.
I still do. I got a stack of them.
I
think Snake Eyes actually does pretty well graded.
Yeah, he's like your Charizard of G.I. Joe. I like Storm Shadow.
First edition Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow in PSA 10. But yeah, I am interested to see, like, I don't know. I don't think any graded Weiss Schwartz has popped yet, has it? I haven't necessarily been looking that close. I haven't looked either. If that cap does, I think I sent Captain America. If that does well for me, I would send other stuff. I think the gold stamped cards have a potential to have a real market behind them, at least for a while, because they do seem pretty rare. Are they 1 per case or 2 per case? Or
I think it's 1 per case, and like I said, a case is 18 boxes, and
Did you hit one on your 8 that you opened or no?
I haven't hit one.
So there you go, Steve. He should be opening more. He has a sealed case. Mine were just
I
clean
hit stamps, but not the Avenger stamp. So just to be clear on what.
Yeah. There's two different versions.
Yeah, I hit three stamps, but it's the Avenger stamp that sells for so much.
Yeah, and the other stamp are what, like 1 out of 2 or 3 boxes, I think it is, give or take.
They're cool, and I mean, I actually really enjoy them. I want to sit down one day if I ever slow down and just put them all in a binder.
Oh,
and see
here
what
we
they
go.
look like,
There's a PSA 10 Thanos on eBay. Is it auction or buy it now, Pokedex? I'd be curious to know. Before we have another guest in the background, surprise last minute edition.
Oh man.
But before we go to the guest, smash the like button, and then I'll give him a second to drink his water. And then
do they like Marvel cards?
They do like Marvel cards.
Oh, okay.
He's still chugging water. I can see him. He's now making him laugh. So I'll give him a minute to get himself situated. He's
so I missed him in
choking.
Atlanta.
Might have to call 911 and send it to, I forget where he lives, but the Carolina.
As I was pulling up the live stream, you were talking about Atlanta is pretty much a go.
Yeah, he confirmed it.
I'm about as close to confirming as you could possibly confirm. And speaking of Atlanta, this person will also be in Atlanta. One Mr. Kenny Forno. What's going on, Kenny?
How's everybody doing?
Oh, man.
I'm good. Now, you know Steve, obviously. I don't know. Do you know Spidey Juice / Justin?
I met him in Dallas 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Well, then, you guys are best friends then.
Best friends, face to face.
So, yeah, it is strongly. I was just texting my wife. I'm like, what are we doing with flights? So I'm not going to 100% commit until the plane ticket's bought, but we're well on the way.
Yeah,
I will probably most likely fly in Friday morning and then fly out Sunday morning or early afternoon. So I should
That's basically what I'm doing.
Be there all night Friday and all night Saturday.
I'll be in Thursday around 3, and I'm flying out Sunday around 3.
I'm trying to put pressure on Dakota. He's my latest.
Which is going to leave me short for time set up on Sunday, but I get a couple hours.
Most people. Sunday's usually a weird day, but Kenny, you will be what, set up or walking around or a little bit of both? How do you guys?
Yeah, we'll be with Steve.
Oh, that's right. You're set up with Steve. We'll be. I don't know that I'll set up, but maybe I'll throw you a few bucks for part of the table and put a little row in. I don't know. We'll see.
Steve, where are you at relative to the stage?
We're kind of dead center. Like, I saw which row you guys are in.
Yeah.
You're like one row over from us. So you're on the end. We're one row closer to the basketball court.
Got it.
So you're here, and then if you were to go to the next row towards the basketball court, that's where we're at. And then we have actually the table on the end, and then 2 tables down the line.
That's awesome.
So we'll be out on the end cap, and then 2 tables on the inside.
That's a great spot.
Kenny, you're the veteran of these large travel shows and whatnot. Does it feel like to you that this particular Atlanta show is getting a lot more buzz than normal?
Yeah. So like the last one, Raphael, the promoter, he said he only took like 2 months to promote the last one, so it was kind of last minute, and it was on the same weekend as the Dallas show in July, and it was a week before the national. So I guess people were probably trying to save money for the national. Not only that, Dallas was going on, so it was kind of hard for a lot of people to commit, and it was really, really good, honestly. Like, I mean, I made my biggest purchase at the time at that show, and this one does feel a lot better. Like, I was looking at all the events. There's nothing really else big going on other than this Atlanta show.
I just feel like everyone that I know, at least maybe this is just like the content creator bubble, but like everyone that I know that makes content is like, yeah, I'm going to Atlanta. Yeah, I'm going to Atlanta. Yeah, I'm going to Atlanta. So I'm kind of like, well, I guess I'm going to Atlanta because everyone else is going to Atlanta.
Yeah, I think we attributed to, like, a lot of us wanted to go last year, and the same stuff that Kenny said. The timing was just bad. Like, it was so close to the national that a lot of us traveling to Chicago that can't do the show circuit had to pick between one or the other. And now this falls like in the middle where we're us guys who is our last major show was the national. I've been to Philly, but my last major show was the national. I'm fiending for a major show, a show that feels like an event, not just a show. This feels like an event. There's more to it. There's going to be lots of hanging out. So I'm setting up for the first time, so I'm super jacked, all capital letters for that. And So yeah, this feels like kind of pre-national, national warm-up. I don't know what you want to call it. Halftime to the national. Yeah, just let's go.
Does anyone know the name of the venue off the top of their head? I forget what it's called.
Yeah, it's the Cobb Galleria.
Yeah.
There you go. It's right by the Braves Stadium, isn't it? It's like across the street from the Braves.
Like right beside it. It's like there's a path that you can literally walk and go to the Braves Stadium.
Are the Hawks home that weekend?
Yeah, there's I don't know if he's dropped anything. He had some kind of package, I think, with discounted tickets, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but he did say something about that.
Hey, I've got a question. If you get a table, do you also have to buy tickets?
No, you get a dealer badge, don't you?
We get dealer badges.
Yeah. Each table gets 2 dealer badges, so I think that gets you in.
Okay, got it.
Shit, I was gonna ask something. I don't remember what I was gonna say. Steve, so how are you feeling setting up? Like, you're going from I've never set up at a show before to, instead of setting up at like some 50 table local show, you're like, let me just knock this like 500 table show off the bucket list. Right.
That's what I said. I said, man, I've never set up. Man, I've never even set up at a yard sale. Shit. It's like, so it's like
PMGs in the yard in the garage.
Got everything out on the picnic table, right? Yeah,
guys,
but like, yeah, and that's exactly what I said. I never even set up at like a local fire hall or anything to go into this. I don't know what to expect. I might be out of cards after the first. I mean, that'll be a good thing.
Yeah,
but I might be out of cards after the first day. I mean, I hope I got.
Are you going to be out of cards first, or cash from buying everyone that walks up to you? What happens first?
Oh no! See, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to take with me from a cash standpoint. I know I got to take money with me to buy if the opportunity presents itself, but also, to give change and things like that. But I may look to just sell a big card before I start to spend. I mean, I got a couple big cards that I have, like, not enormous cards, but I have some cards that I don't have a lot of attachment to, that if I can just sell them early, that'll put the money in my pocket for the show. I can take money with me. I just don't know. I don't know. I'll leave it at that. Like, it's kind of like, do I want to go and be like, I hope somebody buys this Kobe auto real quick, or I hope somebody buys this Doctor Strange blue real quick, and then I got some money in my pocket, or do I want to take money with me?
Kenny, as the vet here of show life, we'll call it, do you have any pro tips from the setup side of things?
Don't be afraid to throw your offer, Steve. Trust me, you'll be surprised what people take.
Like when people walk up trying to sell.
Well, just leave me some good stuff, because I know they'd be coming up to you and stuff first.
Oh, we're gonna have this big booth. We'll have this big booth.
I get all the pick through. Oh yeah, Kenny and Roth and them. Yeah, they already got all the good shit.
Okay.
So,
Kenny's gonna snipe all the Marvel stuff before it even gets to you.
Yeah. So Kenny,
I have lots of Marvel stuff. I have lots and lots of Marvel stuff. Here's the good thing about the Marvel stuff that I have, is that I can give people deals on it, and I can still come out ahead. I don't have to charge comp. I can leave people room if that's their intention, is to resell. I'm lucky enough to be in at an entry point to where I can give deals. And when you can give deals, you can sell your cards. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that I do know, even though I've never set up. If I can give deals, if I can come off a decent percentage of comps and still make myself money, I can sell some of my cards.
In other words, them cards aren't going to hit the table because I'm going to buy them most likely.
Yeah, right. I might put all my sports cards out because all my Marvel cards are in.
Those are on Thursday night, is what Kenny said.
I might just put all my sports cards out and keep the Marvel cards hidden.
Kenneth, do you
put somebody come around, be a rumor? I heard you got Marvel cards. Yeah, we come up back here.
What happened here?
Do you put everything out, or do you kind of like wave it out through the week?
It just depends on the mood. Like, if there's a bunch of stuff I bring, and it's always in the box, and I'm like, let me get started, let me test the waters, put 10 15 cards or whatever, and then I got a couple in there, and then somebody will ask specifically, they'll ask okay, do you have rare Marvel? And then I'm like, okay, let me pull this out. That's when I kind of pull some stuff out. Otherwise,
except for that Venom Jambalaya you had laying in your showcase in Philly, that I was like, hey man, you selling that? Oh,
that was eye candy. That was eye candy. And not only that, I was like,
I know it was.
I told everybody, I was like, no, that's not for sale. But if you have any Jambalayas, I'm buying every single one of them.
Hey, what year was the Venom?
2017.
Is that the one that you got back as a 9?
Yeah, it came back up. It actually sold on eBay. I sold it on eBay 2 days ago. The 2015.
Oh, you sold it already?
Yep, 2015 ends in an hour actually.
Yeah, I saw that up there.
Oh,
So
look
I'm
at
not
you.
bidding on it.
We'll see if I
Stacking
sold
Gem
one
is in the
for
chat.
price.
He might be in on that one.
Yeah.
I have a lead on the Ghost Spider Gwen Jambalaya, waiting to see if it works out.
Graded or raw?
Raw.
Those are tough grades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which one is from 17?
2017. She only has
Yeah.
2017.
You still have that one, Kenny?
Yeah, I do. I have a PSA 8.
Nice.
Oh, there you go. There you
You
go.
won't, if I don't get it, I might trade you a Wolverine PSA 8 for it. If you're open to it.
All right.
Do you? So I mean, I mean, you know, 3 of the 4 of us here definitely play more in the sports card side than the Marvel side. I'll go with Kenny on this one specifically because he has a better grasp of the larger show circuit. Do you? What is your take on the Marvel stuff and you know, it being at shows? And you know, I saw a great curator talking about like it was definitely like hot at the Dallas show and stuff. Are you seeing the same thing as well? Like the non-sports card? Are we in a non-sports card rise? Like, is there a lot of demand out there, whether it's Marvel or just in general?
Yeah. Oh, so it's weird. I mean, I always look for it. Now, of course, I am looking more for sports, but I do look for Marvel. Like, there's always that one dealer that has a bunch of sports cards and that one Marvel card where they can just give you the deal. Like, you can already sense it. It's like, oh yeah, they got a bunch of baseball, and then they just got this one PMG. Oh yeah, this is definitely a buy here because, like, you know, they're not attached to it. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I definitely did see a lot of demand in Dallas. Now, Marvel collectors are very tough to negotiate with, so it's kind of tough to get deals on them. You're either paying 100% comp or 95% comp. I mean, there really is there's not too much leeway. I mean, Justin and I got a deal on the PMG 2099, and I mean, I thought I threw a good offer, and he was just like, nope.
Me?
No,
No,
Justin,
Justin.
He had the
Oh.
Spider-Man 2099 blue.
I do.
Yeah, I have
I'm
one of those
gonna
at
leave you to
PSA.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
I have one of those at PSA. So it's kind of like relative to and the ultra modern seller that has the 1 or 2 vintage cards in there, as opposed to going to a vintage table and trying to negotiate vintage from vintage.
Yeah, good luck getting below comps on PMGs right now, or really Marvel in general. To Kenny's point, like it's just the prices are moving so fast on it.
They go up. I've noticed. I've been looking at like all auctions. Every single one, like if it's the same card, for example, I see like a 15% increase each auction. At minimum 15%. I mean, I bought a couple PMGs 2 months ago on Comc, and now you can't even buy them for that price. So
You can't even look at them. They charge you that much just to look at
you
them.
can't even look at them now.
That's like
That's
so.
gonna be Steve. Steve's gonna have like the PMG peep show at the
Yeah.
Atlanta show. He'll have like curtains
Little
up all
tickets.
around the table, and it'll be like $5 just to come in and look at his PMGs.
So here's the thing, and I wanted to say this to chat. Don't be a noob like me. I've said this before, but I can't stress it enough. If you're going to buy off Comc, just sign up for a free account. Because I was buying cards off Comc as a guest, not knowing that you got a discount if you not knowing that you got a discount if you had an account. So I bought this Doctor Strange blue PMG as a guest. So this was $1,200. As a guest, it might have been like $1,000. I might have saved $200. I don't know, maybe in that ballpark. But I got this at the right time, so I'm not angry about that because I know that I'm not going to lose on this. Because of the timing of when I bought it.
Do you know the trick of finding out potentially what price they'll really accept?
No. On Comc? Oh yeah, just put in a 1.
Yeah, just put in 25. You got to have the actual money loaded up, but you can put in $1, 25 cents, and it'll tell you the lowest that they're willing to accept an offer. Now they may not actually accept it, but it's typically a really good indicator.
Yeah, but it adds it to your cart.
Oh, and then you got to clear it out.
You got to clear your cart.
Yeah.
All the Comc hacks. Hack number 1: create an account.
Comc's great. I mean, you buy a card, you can somewhat vault it, wait for the market to move, and then put it right back up.
I'm getting lost in my Doctor Stranges here, man.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff.
Someone just said that Probstein's on IG Live today saying Marvel is one of the 2 areas he's seeing strong pricing in. Kenny, I don't know. How much are you in the F1?
I split one card with Jacob.
Okay. And maybe the comparison I've been making a lot lately is that the current Marvel market reminds me of F1 a lot. Can you see like those kind of like comparisons? It's a small market of cards with a lot of people that want to spend a lot of money.
I mean, so whenever the National happened last year, I was there when, like, at the time it was the biggest F1 sale. So it was the Lewis Hamilton out of 5, I think Purple Refractor, something like that.
You're the one that Lou and Sasha bought?
Yeah. So at the time that was like a crazy sale. Like, nobody thought those numbers were even feasible. And not only that, F1 cases were, I think, like $3,000. And Joshua Ramos, Sports Card Plaza, was telling us, I'm buying all cases at $3-4 grand, however much they were. And now, like, I looked the other day just to see what the cases are going for. They're like $7,000 a case or something now. It's just like each month they just kept climbing. $500 more, $500 more, $1,000 more. And I mean, I don't know, but I think Marvel though is it still hasn't even hit its potential. I think it's not even close.
We were talking earlier, right before you hopped on. To me, and Steve agreed and Justin agreed too. The thing that seems untapped with Marvel is that there's no grading with it at all right now. Like there's very little graded stuff, and that seems like a massive area of opportunity on the Marvel side.
Yeah, all most of the cards are raw whenever you find them on eBay or Comc. Like, I mean, I think a PSA 9 is an extreme premium on any card, honestly, and a PSA 10 is like a BGS 10 pristine if you really think about it nowadays.
Yeah, especially on a PMG, or any of the numbered stuff, really. Like, just to switch back in the sports a little bit, where are you seeing like the modern market at right now, Kenny? Or like modern NBA seems like it's just crickets right now for the most part, other than like a couple players. I know you've been dealing a lot with like goats and autos and patches and that sort of stuff. Are we in a weird spot right now for like just like a Lucas Silver Prism or whatever the flavor of the month is?
Yes. I don't know, man. I think like I said, each month the market just gets smarter and smarter, and they just look at that Luka pop count or that Zion pop count, and they're just like, I don't want any part of it, or I'd rather want an auto for the $2K that they're going to spend or the $1,500 that they're going to spend. And then everybody just wants, like Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry is the hottest ultra modern basketball player right now. Like LeBron seems extremely undervalued, and LeBron. I think he's less than 200 points away from being like completely all-time just in all-time points, playoff and regular season. Like, and it's just crickets. Like, his auto market has always been strong because he doesn't sign for Panini. But like, as far as his Chrome, it just keeps dropping. And I mean, just anything that's not numbered or team color match or on-card auto, it's in a weird spot right now as far as what I'm looking at.
I'm really big on color match. I'm a sucker for color match. Yes. Every time I can find it, I'm a huge sucker for color match. Yeah, it just seems like the modern sports card market is in a really odd place right now in terms of I think it's still trying to, I feel like a lot of the stuff is like bottomed out. I just don't know that I necessarily see where it spikes back up again. And to your point, like the LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 10, like where do you think the floor is on that card? That's like what? Like you could probably get one cash under 10K right now if you really wanted one.
Yeah, like, somebody put one on Facebook yesterday for $8,500, and that was a great price because I think the last comps are like 95 or 10, something like that. So
yeah, like you regularly find them for under 10K. That sounds wild to me in the grand scheme of things, but it's kind of like the 86 Jordan. It's not necessarily a rare card. You see them every show you walk into like crazy.
Yeah, and we were talking about the 86 Fleer Jordan the other day because we were like, if you look at the PSA 8 count, just the PSA 8 of the Fleer Jordan, I think it's over 5. It's like just PSA. I think it's like over 5K, maybe even over 10K or something like that. That's just the PSA 8.
So I think PSA 9 is over 2,800.
Yeah. So that's more than Giannis's base Prism. So if it's at 5, right, and you list all of those on eBay, how is that going to go up in price? You know what I mean? Like every single one of those have to get sold. And I don't know. It's just weird. Like that card is, I don't know how to explain it. And the same thing with the Topps Chrome PSA 10 LeBron, as you were saying. Like everything's kind of like the market's just getting smarter. They want team color match. They want numbered They want on-card autos. They want game use patches, and that's just how it's going each month and each month.
Yeah,
Steve, what are you seeing on the modern card? Are you been buying? I mean, I know the three of us kind of watch everything. We're always looking at comic books, Marvel cards, sports cards. Are you? What are your eyes on the modern NBA market or the modern sports card market, or are you just focused on all this other stuff that we've been chasing lately?
No, there's players in modern NBA that I've been looking at. Haven't been buying heavily, no. Haven't been buying some, yes. Haven't been talking about it, no. So just because I'm not talking about it that much, doesn't mean that I'm not, there is stuff that I'm more interested in right now, but I'm not passing up a good deal if I see it. So, and I have certain players that I like for different reasons. Like you like Darius Garland because you think he's a good player. Well, he is a good player. The team's playing well, and it has the added bonus of him playing for your favorite team. All the same stuff translate to me for a player like Jason Tatum. He's still having a great season, even though it's kind of flying under the radar a bit. But he plays for my favorite team. I still think he's going to be one of the best players over the next 10 years. So, if I see a deal on a Jason Tatum card, I'll pick it up. And it's not always rookie based right now because, and I know it's always been collect rookies. Right now it's like collect rarity. It doesn't have to necessarily be a rookie. If it's a nice card that's rare, it's got collectability to it. So I'm even looking at, when you look at LeBron and Jordan and Kobe autos, those are worth lots of money. They're not rookie cards. So is there a play to get in on some of the younger talent that you like, whether it's a rookie card or whether it's a second or third year auto? If you think that person is like a future Hall of Famer, I mean, to this day, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson autos hold value, right? They're not rookie autos. So that's another way that I'm looking at it. It might be a little bit longer term, especially considering the market's down and we don't know when it's going to rebound, no pun intended, talking about basketball. But there's opportunity there because a lot of people are putting their money elsewhere. So I definitely think there is some opportunity, but it's going to be specific to the person. It's not, hey, go buy these guys. It's find the guy that you believe in. And then it's an added bonus if he plays for your favorite team, if you have a good player on your team. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. There was something else. Go ahead. I forgot. There was something else I was going to say, but it skipped my mind.
Getting old. Interesting question here from Bazooka Tom, and I've been thinking more and more about this. The crazier this stuff gets. So Marvel cards are going crazy. Do we think at any point someone goes, maybe I should just go buy like a Hulk 181 or an Ultimate Fallout 4 or that sort of stuff? And I know Steve, you've recently been kind of getting back into comic books again. And as I say that, I see Swaggle House in the old chat from the old comic book YouTube content creators. Any thoughts on do we see a bleed over? The sports card guys bled into the Marvel card market, and then in general Marvel picked up. Do we see a transition effect going potentially back down the line in the comic books of like the next evolutionary process? I'll go Justin first since he got boxed out with a little sports card talk there.
Yeah, no, all good. I enjoyed it. Absolutely, I think that makes a lot of sense because if it becomes headline news, which I think it will, all right, and I'll do a hot take. I think there's a strong possibility that by the time we get to nationals, Marvel cards will be the talk of nationals in a lot of ways. And so, as that happens and as that headline news takes place, and people are looking at Marvel as a collectible, property, comic books just fits right into it pretty easily and seamlessly. So I can see it capturing the same audience, so to speak.
Steve, any thoughts? As someone that plays on all three sides?
Personally, for me, and this might sound crazy, a nice Silver Age comic book key that has a nice cover on it and a decent grade, it doesn't have to be great, appeals to me more from a collector standpoint than a card does. And I know that sounds crazy because I do lots and lots of cards, and I have tons and tons of cards that I love and that I collect. Now, could I collect as many comics as I do cards? I can't, because comics take up a lot of space. I'm talking about.
Yes, they do.
Comics take up a lot of space, but for instance, I just picked up a Silver Age key. I'm a Doctor Strange guy. I picked up a Strange Tales 135. A lot of people don't know what that book is, but it's just the first appearance of Nick Fury. Now, Nick Fury may not be a huge character, but to me, it was just a Strange Tale key at a good price. I just love the look of those late 60s books, the artwork on the covers. It doesn't even matter who's on the cover. Sometimes that art just has a feel about it. It's so hard to explain because it's probably a personal appeal that I have. And unless you have the same appeal, then you don't know what I'm talking about. But so yeah, when I see nice, I still like the comic books. Do I think that we will see sports card people kind of stairway into comics through Marvel cards? I don't know. That might be a stretch. Because we see, could you spin that around and say, hey, will comic book collectors start to collect Marvel cards? And they may, but will they then trickle into sports cards? I kind of think that medium in the middle is kind of like the wall, kind of to where a majority of the people are going to sit. Okay, I love comics and I love cards. It's the perfect marriage as a comic book, a Marvel card. Mm-hmm. I like sports cards, but I don't like comics, but I do like Marvel movies. I'm going to go to these cards. Or I like comic books. I don't like sports. My comic books are so big and taking up so much room. I want to collect some art on these cards. I think there will be some, but I think your biggest percentage of crossover is just going to kind of sit in a medium of probably Marvel cards. And not many people are going to jump that fence into comic books / sports cards from whatever side they're coming from.
I think I could see more people, to your point, I agree, but I could see more people going sports cards to Marvel cards to comics than I could see going comics to Marvel cards to sports cards. Just because so many people are fans of the MCU. So it's like a natural bleed-in effect. And I'm going to lead into Kenny with this because I think Kenny's kind of the perfect example with this. And he can correct me if I'm wrong. You've never really been, you love MCU. You've never been a big comic book guy. You jumped kind of into Marvel cards a little bit, but it's also, correct me if I'm wrong, you're getting tempted by the evil mistress of CGC slabs, or at least glancing at them every now and again.
Yeah, I mean, I've honestly, like you hit it right on the money. I love the MCU. I mean, growing up, I've always been a big just superhero guy. So like, I always loved the animated series of like DC, Marvel that they'd always put on TV. I'd always watch the movies. But I'd always dissect even more. Like I always look at breakdowns and stuff like that and look more into it. And they'd always talk about comics, specific comics. But I just never had a comic book really growing up. So I could see what you were saying, how people can go from sports cards to Marvel cards to comics. But I think with, I don't see that jump from comics to cards to sports cards. You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of tough. If you go to a comic book shop, they could be having 50,000 PMGs and they don't even care because they're like, oh yeah. I mean, Steve told us one time, he was like, I went to a comic book store and I was like, do you have any cards? And I mean, they gave it to you for what? Like pennies on the dollar, right?
Yeah, I mean, not to sound offensive or anything, but you've even heard people in the comic book market say, even you two yourself, Neo, have said, man, collecting comic books was always something that we did because we were nerds growing up. Collecting sports cards was always something that the jocks did, right? So as we all get older and older and older, we go from being the jocks to being the nerds, correct? But you don't necessarily go from being the nerds to being the jocks as you get older. So, as you get older and you get out of school and stuff, other things become more acceptable. But so I can see where people who like sports and grew up on sports can cross, or more likely to cross over into comic books. Sure. But that was just put that out there to, you like a joke.
We'll switch gears here for a second. I've seen a couple different people mention this in chat just recently. Baseball. Sounds like spring training is definitely going to get delayed. Sounds like the regular season is definitely going to get delayed based off of today's tweets from Ken Rosenthal and some of the other big time baseball reporters. Kenny, on the show circuit, what are you seeing? Do you dabble in baseball at all, or are you completely like, what are you seeing in the baseball side on the, out there in the Flipperville?
In Flipperville, they're definitely
the evil streets of Flipperville.
Yeah, everybody's looking for Soto, Tatis, Vlad, Acuna.
I'll be loading up for Atlanta.
Yeah, And honestly, if you can get it for today's price, I think it's still a good buy. I think once it actually gets announced, I mean, I think you're in the clear right now for whatever today's price is. And then right before spring training or right before opening day, as long as you can sell them, I'm sure you can make your quick 20% and keep it moving on to the next thing. But everybody's buying first Bowman Chrome, always heavy. I mean, that's
Soto first Bowmans are just like.
Yeah, I mean, and just in general, like prospecting, like people are just prospecting no matter what, because I don't believe that's getting delayed. Compared to
I don't understand the inner workings of that, but I think I believe you are correct.
Yeah, because it's just like completely different. But everybody's buying prospects like always. But yeah, I mean, so everybody's looking literally Soto, Acuna, Vlad, Tatis. I think I said Acuna and Luis Robert.
I have every one of those guys in my case right now.
Bryant was on from Tampa Card Shop the other night, and he talked about, and of course he's in Tampa, but there's definitely movement on some Wander Franco still. Bobby Witt, people are prospecting him on him, and some movement on even Bo Bichette. I think is seeing some love. But again, I'm not sure how much and what cards they are. We didn't really get specific. Topps Paper will release Wander Franco's first Topps card this year because they delayed that card, right? So that'll still drive people to probably buy Topps Paper. So you're still looking at people probably wanting to open Bust Wax when it comes out, regardless if the season has started. So that's always the driving force, as long as there's something that people are interested in. But I would agree.
He'll be the big refractor chase this year.
Hey, Nia.
Yeah.
I've got to run. This has been absolutely amazing. Everybody chats, Marvel cards, baby.
Later. Go check out Spidey Jew 09 on the old YouTubes and the IGs for all your wonderful Marvel content, and we'll see him again on the channel.
Kenneth, awesome to see you, man. Thanks, guys.
Good night. Bye. We'll probably be wrapping up pretty soon. I got to get up early tomorrow to watch Book of Boba Fett before I go into work. I don't like getting spoilers, so I watch it at 6 o'clock in the morning before I head into the office for the day. Yeah, baseball seems weird right now. Prices really aren't moving except for first Bowmans. That seems to be what I have noticed as I'm just like randomly tracking stuff. It's like refractors are holding, to your point, Kenny. They're not going down, but they're not going up. They're just holding flat. And it seems like everyone's just kind of holding their breath for when is it actually gonna, when are we gonna get confirmation that everything's looking good? And then I don't know. I'll be curious to see how big of a spike there is once it comes back. Are you worried at all if they actually miss games, if it'll have a major negative effect on prices? If it's like April, if opening day is May 1st, what do you think happens April 1st? Or what do you think happens for like that first month of like, hey, it's delayed and we really don't know when opening day is? Because we're probably going to get an announcement pretty soon. Spring training is delayed, which means the season's going to be delayed, and we're not really going to have a firm, this is when it's coming back. Do you think panic sets in a little bit, or
could be panic? But I still think it could be just good. It's still a great opportunity to buy. I think with baseball, I mean, it's the same thing with every sport. Football, baseball, basketball. If you're getting it right now, preseason, and the preseason really hasn't even started, as long as you hold and HODL until that opening day, then I think you can still come out good.
Yeah. People want to know, are you buying Star Wars?
No, not buying the Star Wars. Not at the moment.
No, okay. The only thing I talked about this earlier, the only thing that I'm really looking at Star Wars wise is actor autos, and nothing crazy. More like, signed stuff from voice actors from Rebels and stuff like that. I would like an Ahsoka Rosario Dawson auto from Star Wars Stellar Signatures, but they are not cheap. And I don't think that I want to necessarily lock up like 1K in one of those, which is about what they go for. I would trade into one potentially. Which this is completely switching gears again. Steve, I know Great Curator talked about this in his latest live stream. What or how open are you to Atlanta? You got your case of PMGs sitting there. Are you going to be willing? Are you looking cash only, or would you be willing to make deals for sports cards on those? Or are you mostly looking to cash out on those? Or are you're in a position now where, like you said, you could kind of give deals on them, but would you potentially leverage the nice high comps that are out there on PMGs to potentially get into, something on a mid to high end sports card, whatever it might be?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know what I'm trying to recoup as far as an investment standpoint when I bought this collection. Once I recoup my original, once I'm in the green, I'm good to do whatever I want to do with it. So I'm kind of like looking to get cash up until that point, unless it makes sense to where it's a trade. I mean, I got to be trading for something I know I can sell. You know what I mean? It can't be like, oh yeah, I'm getting a good deal on this card, but it's going to take me 6 months to sell it. If I think I can trade a Marvel card for a card that I can move that day at the show, because at the end of the day, ultimately what you want is liquidity. You can have a big time card, but if nobody's willing to buy it, it's only worth what somebody's willing to give you for it. So right now, PMGs are liquid from a cash standpoint. I'm not going to say they're as good as having cash, but in some cases they might be. So I don't think I'll have any problem selling them, which is going to be tough to trade because, cash is always king. If I can get cash for something as opposed to a card, unless somebody's willing to give me, a really strong market value on a liquid card. It can't be like, hey, you're not going to get the same deal. Also, you're not going to get the same deal from me on a PMG if you want to trade it off me. I'm going to want more in return than I am if you're going to buy it off me. Now, that goes without saying. That's pretty much for anything. But even more so on something that's so hot and so liquid, it's going to be tough for me to say, okay, I'll give you this $500 PMG for that $500 basketball card. Because that PMG is probably as good as $425 cash in my hand, at a snap of a finger. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Where that other card might not be.
Yeah.
So you're saying my Optic Tatum checkerboard PSA 9 that's like a 1K value is going to get me like a $700 PMG out of your case?
Maybe it all depends. You want Spider Girl?
Spider
Girl's just become the joke.
What's that, Kenny?
I'm sorry.
Huh?
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Kenny.
I definitely get what Steve's saying. Like, he's like, okay, if you really think about it, a PMG, if the last comp is really 500, most likely, if you run it on auction again, you're probably going to get 500 or close to it again. So it's really 425 at liquidity, whereas like a basketball card, let's say the last comp is 500, but what's the next person at show really willing to pay you for it? 350?
Yeah, and here, case in point for me, living example. I bought and graded some PMGs with SGC a while back. I bought a bronze Venom and I paid less than like $20 for it, and it graded an SGC 9. I almost immediately sold that for $350 on Instagram. That's less than a month ago. I just watched the same card go raw last night for over 800, and this was an SGC 9. So I'm going to say an SGC 9 is worth as much as a raw. I still made good money on it. The person who got it is happy. They wanted the card. I'm not bitter about it at all. But going forward, I know how these are climbing in value. I sold a bronze Spider-Gwen for $300 last week. That's not a $300 card this week. I can guarantee it's not. And that's just 1 week. So, I made money on it because I got it at a good deal. So I'm not bitter about it or anything, but I do know, kind of what I have is at the moment, we're still a month away from the show pretty much. Things could change. Market changes like crazy. But, with that being said, I know, I still track the cards sometimes after I sell them, not for a what could have been, but just to, keep myself in the know. And I know that the Spider-Gwen bronze I sold on IG for $300 is not a $300 card this week. This was maybe even less than a week ago.
You're actually not far off. One just sold for $315 like an hour ago because I was bidding on it.
Did it end?
It ended at like $315 or $320.
Because the one that went prior went for $400. So
yeah, I'm wondering if there was condition differences between those two.
That's the other thing.
I didn't look that close. I think the one that ended at $315 was probably a 7, maybe. It had a little. It was in a little rough shape. I don't know what the one that ended at how clean the one that ended at 400 was.
Because I saw a Captain America bronze raw end around 400 or 500, I think, and then I saw one a couple days later end closer to 200. But the one that was ended at 200, if you looked at it, it had really bad surface smudges on it. So again, that's another thing.
So, all right,
luckily
we're
for
gonna
me,
wind. Oh,
these
go
are
ahead.
my-
I'm gonna wind down here. It's 11:15. I'm going for 2.5 hours, and I do have a date with Mandalorian and who knows, and Boba Fett in the morning. So Kenny, give a little shout outs. Where can they find you? We got any? What's the next video to drop? You have anything in the queue?
We'll be in Houston for the 3-day show. So we're hoping to, drop a day 1 vlog, day 2 vlog, possibly a day 3, but Sundays are really the boring days of the show. Just letting you know, Sundays are kind of the.
I'm flying out on Sunday, most likely.
Yeah, Sundays are really just the slower days. So hopefully it's a good one. Last time I heard it was really good, and it's a very big building. Follow us on Instagram. Literally, you can just type in my name. We're always buying, selling, and trading anything.
You were always. I see you I'm in all the big Facebook buy sell trade groups.
All
Once
the
every
time.
2 days, I see here's the I'm buying post, and then there's like 700 comments of
And it's
people.
just not. The way
I love how my favorite part of those, because I'll see them and it'll just be like buying, ultra high end or high end autos, patches, this, that, and the other thing, and like every third post is Joe Burrow, Don Russ base PSA 9s.
Yes. I try to put everything in all caps, literally specific. I'm like, please post a pick and a price. I'll put only looking for these players, and then like they'll put Kyler Murray or something. I'm like, please read the book. But it is what it is. Sometimes you'll get good deals though.
I was gonna say, is that a Facebook thing where people just don't read, or do a lot of people slide into your IG DMs with stuff like that too, or is it more Facebook?
I think so. Facebook, it's like 1 in every 10,000 people I probably get a deal. They typically slide in the messages though, because they can, I think a lot of people really I'm always buying on Facebook. So I think they know that I'm a serious buyer. So I think they're like, let me not put this on the post. And if
I'll just go to him directly first before I even monkey around making a post.
Correct. So, but a lot of people I think on Facebook, they just have those pictures ready and they're just like, oh, he's buying. Let me just put down these quick 5 pictures of this crusade, Joe Burrow, just the first thing that's on the book. Like they'll just shoot the gun. It's hilarious, man. I'm just like, that's not what we're looking for, but it's okay.
It's worth it for the needle in the haystack that might come across your table.
Yeah. Yes.
Steve, what do we got? We got a live drive coming up soon. What's the next content coming out of Flipping Steve YouTubeville?
Yeah, I was gonna live drive today, and I was gonna go to the post office, but it's like snowy and icy, so I didn't want to like risk busting my ass trying to work and carrying the phone.
That's how you go viral, though. That's what you need.
Crazy. Yeah, is the type of stuff that goes viral. But
Steve sliding out of his car on his ass, trying to save the Doctor Strange PMG as it's up in the air.
I'm just saying, could you imagine me slipping, going up the post office steps or something, and then like wiping out some old lady or something?
Then you got it on camera for the lawsuit for them not salting the sidewalk.
Yeah, right. But I actually think Thursday it's going to be nice out. I might actually walk down to the beach, and I might, if it's not windy and you can hear, I might shoot from there a little bit as I walk and talk about a couple things. One of the things we talked on tonight about the card porn post, I wanted to talk about a little bit, especially the fact about how they're like, oh, it's going to kill the collectors. I didn't necessarily agree with that statement.
Go ahead.
I actually just saw that post and I commented on it because I was honestly infuriated with that post.
We talked about it earlier at length, but you could go, if you got something, go for it. Let it, as Elsa says, let it go.
So, okay, based on what I looked at all the photos, I checked the guy's profile as well. The bidder was different every auction. So I was confused. Did they have proof that somebody who specifically works for Alt actually bought that card? Because that's like saying I bought the card and I just shipped it to my alt vault, and now I want 3 times the value.
So the way I understand it is that he got confirmation from the sellers that they went to an alt vault, all of them, to the same pseudonym name.
Okay.
So it looked, according to the information, and once again, I want to preface this by, I looked at this for like 35 minutes, so I could be missing a lot. The way I understand it is there was multiple eBay accounts buying, but they were all shipping to alt, all under the same. He said it was a pseudonym name, so I assume it was some sort of fake name. So that's the thing that's linking it together. My take on it is it's not alt doing it. It's an alt user or a user on the alt platform. It's not the company taking company funds to go buy PMGs and then sell them at a profit on alt. I don't personally, I don't think that's what's happening. I think it's more someone on the alt platform is maybe potentially doing some shady stuff on eBay auctions and then sending them to alt and selling them, flipping them over there.
But have any of them sold on alt? That's the thing, because you can list it on alt for a set price.
I think they were selling them at liquid auctions, and I'm not super familiar with their platform because I've never bought and sold on there. I don't know if there's a way to go back and look at like sold history on alt liquid auctions. I don't think it was bins. I think it was liquid auctions.
What you would have to do, so I can check them later. I'd have to look at the cards, but I can look to see if they were sold on liquid auctions. The thing is, that's like saying, okay, I bought this crazy deal on an alt liquid auction for one hell of a steal, and then I immediately took that scan because it's now in my alt vault, ran it on eBay auction for 7 days, and now it goes for double. That's kind of what I mean. There's so many deals on alt liquid auction. I don't think people have actually seen. There's crazy deals on their liquid auction.
The biggest issues, the one issue I had with it, and the one thing that maybe there is something definitely legitimately there is the issue I had with it is them basically saying like alt 100% manipulated. I think that the quote that was in there was alt bought out all the Marvel cards on eBay, which we all obviously all know that that's just not true. Was what card porn had in there. And once again, I know alt's not like the cleanliness of things, so I don't want to sit here being the alt defender. They definitely have some stink on them about some other stuff that they've done in the past. On the eBay side of things, it does look like, based off his screenshots, that the same two accounts were bidding up a lot of PMGs. So there might be something legitimately going on there where it's like these two, maybe, and it could be 100% legitimate. Maybe it's just these two deep pocket guys or girls really want PMGs and they're just going at everyone that's on there. Or it could be potentially that maybe, you know, these two guys are going back and forth in like a buyout situation, trying to drive prices up. I wouldn't be surprised by either one, to be quite honest with you. We've all been in this game long enough to know that shady shit happens when it comes to the collectibles market, whether it's cards, comics, Marvel cards, you know, whatever, Pokemon stuff. It doesn't make a difference. It's an unregulated market. People are going to do shenanigans when money's involved. So I guess my really base level take is where there's smoke, there's fire, you know? So is something weird maybe going on? Yes. I don't necessarily think it's exactly what they laid out in that post, but I didn't sit there and spend a bunch of time, you know what I mean? Like laying out the whole thing for it. So there could be key pieces of things that I'm not seeing or missing or whatever. So that's my general take on it. And Steve, we talked about this a bunch already, so I don't necessarily need to go back to Steve for this one. But do you have anything new that you want to bring to that discussion there, Steve, before we close things out here?
I mean, it's just there might be a couple sales, but it's ridiculous to say that it's a majority of the market. I bought Marvel cards. I bought PMGs. I have nothing to do with it. You bought some. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I work for alt now. I'm just saying, you know, yeah, there's always shady sales with everything. And I've pointed out a couple in Instagram chat that I thought may be shilled because I'm all about the integrity of the market. And just because I own something doesn't mean I want there to be less integrity around the price or the market value of it. But some of the stuff just seems crazy to point a finger at one thing and say, this is the reason why.
Yeah, that was what got me. That was what I was,
you know what I mean?
Like the absolute of like, it's them, all them drove this entire market to crazy town.
Yes, that's the only thing that I literally did not just like the wording. Like, like you were saying, Neo. I mean, obviously we've seen some stuff in the past with alt. I mean, we get it. Of course, you know, there's some question marks there, but I was like, they're just pointing the finger.
I had issues with the same stuff.
And we've seen vibraniums go up. We've seen masterpieces go up. We've seen the
we know why vibraniums went up. That's your fault.
All this. I wish I had that type. I wish I had Charles Fuchs's vibraniums, but I'm just saying there's multiple Marvel sets going up in value. It's because people are taking interest in Marvel now. It's not because a platform is running up the price on PMGs.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, we'll wrap on that, boys and girls. Smash the like button. We're at 93. Get this bad boy over 100 before you close out the old window. Go follow Kenny Fornos on YouTube and IG. Go follow Flipping Steve if you don't already. You probably do because he's been on the channel a million times. And maybe if you're going to be in the Atlanta area at the end of February, you will see all of us. There might be like content creator row there with Roth and you, and I assume Taxi will be there, and Steve, and potentially me, and maybe Personal Finance Dad, all in the same little neck of the woods there, along with a bunch of other people too. It seems like every content creator under the sun is going to that show. So be cameras everywhere. Be flying drones. Steve will be shooting them out of the sky because he hates them. So, all right, we'll catch everybody later. Peace.
Later.